Prologue.
I am the weirdest man who ever lived. I am the strangest thing in existence. I have spent my whole life ashamed of it, coping with it, and suffering from it. I have weirdo written all over me. It's as plain as the nose on my face, as they say. When I exercise, weirdness comes out of my pores. When I talk to people, they cringe and say, "What weird breath." Weirdness is the fabric of what I am. If scientists were to run a test on my DNA, they would find it to be weird. I'm so weird, even I can't relate to myself. I always wished I had a friend, or higher power, or instruction manual to tell me how to be normal, but I have always had to wing it, so to speak. Dogs bark at me because they can smell the weirdness on me. Babies cry when they see me because they instinctually sense my weirdness. I'm so weird, blind people cover their eyes when I'm around. Deaf people cover their ears. Animals are endangered because of my weirdness. Nuclear bombs are dropped because of my weirdness. Evil exists in the world because of my weirdness. Strangeness is in my heart, my soul, and my brain, and there is nothing I can ever do to change it. I walk the streets, far beyond an object of ridicule, more alien than any alien, more monstrous than any monster, odder than any oddity, more perverse than any pervert.
Chapter 1. I first learned about weirdness from my father. He was into baseball. "Son," my father said, "baseball has been in our family for generations. Baseball is an important national tradition which defines us as people." "I always wanted to be an outfielder," my father said. "You see, every wide-eyed dreamer, so to speak, wants to be the pitcher. All the show-offs want to bat. Guys who think they're special want to play first base, and the guys who want the chicks to notice them are the ones who try to steal bases. But I never wanted any of that. I never wanted to be the star of the show. I wanted to be in the background. I wanted to play the outfield, not be the leader, but be part of the team. Anybody can be a big shot, but a real team player is just one of the guys. An outfielder gets no fame or applause, except for the moment he catches the ball that almost went into the bleachers. But it's brief and fleeting. At the end of the game, nobody lifts up the outfielder and says he won the game, even if he catches 1,000,000 fly balls and gets 1,000,000 batters out. Nobody notices him. An outfielder gets nothing except for the pride of teamwork. The pitcher, the batter, the first baseman, and the base stealer get all the money, women, cheers, and glory. But at the end of the day, when they're lying in bed looking up at the ceiling, that's when being special becomes a burden. That's when they pay the price for being amazing. That's when they must come to grips with the terrible truth. They are strange. They are freaks. It's lonely at the top. It's lonely when you're in first place. You can't bring your friends with you. No, my son, there are many losers, but there's only one winner. Me and my father used to play catch in the yard every day when I came home from school. My next-door neighbor also played catch with his father. I think it pleased me, the idea of me and my father doing something normal. I started collecting baseball cards and trading them with kids at school. I traded my MVP cards, my rookie cards, and my special edition cards for their average cards. I became obsessed with baseball, breathing, sleeping, and eating it, so to speak. My most powerful memory is when my father took me to my first baseball game. He bought me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, as was the common thing to do. We sat not in the front row, not in the back, but right in the middle of the stands. We applauded as our team stole second base. We cheered as our team got a home run. We got nervous when the game was tied and it looked like the other team might win. We sighed in relief as the outfield guy, whose name nobody knew, caught the ball and ended the inning. The visiting team came up to bat. The ball went out of the field. The ball was heading toward me so fast that it should have hit me in the head and knocked me out. Unfortunately, I caught it. Everyone saw me catch it and applauded, even the players. Everyone, except for my father. For the rest of the game, while all the other fathers and sons cheered and booed and cursed and hugged, we sat there in an uncomfortable, strange silence. That day marked the beginning of my life of strangeness. After that one night, my father stopped taking me to baseball games and stopped playing catch with me. Every time my father entered my room, he looked at that baseball I had caught and frowned. I took the baseball and put it in my closet, where my father would never again be troubled by it. I often saw my father looking out the window at my neighbor and his father playing baseball. I often heard my father crying to my mother, "Why can't he be normal?" I first learned about strangeness from my mother. She was into crossword puzzles and word games, and one day she encouraged me to enter the school spelling bee. I entered and obsessively studied for it. She gave me tips on this and that, as they say, and hugged and kissed me and encouraged me. "Now, a lot of spellers can spell the glitzy and glamorous words," my mother said, "but I think you should just know the plain words. The more extreme spellers will get more attention, but it's only a spelling bee. It shouldn't be about winning. I have more respect for someone who does a good job and loses than a big shot who wins." I went to the contest and tried to do an average spelling job, but I kept getting the big fancy words right. My neighbor also went, but he didn't make it past the first round. My mother watched him and his mother as they left, hugging. I ended up winning the spelling bee, despite my efforts to lose. My mother cried. At first I thought it was from happiness. Then I realized they were tears of sadness. I put the spelling bee award in my closet, with my baseball, where my mother would never again be troubled by it. The closet became my trophy room. I often heard my mother crying to my father, "Why can't he be normal?" Me and my parents lived together in dead silence, as they say. The only time I was mentioned was to ask, "Why can't he be normal?" To which the other responded, "That's what I was about to say." I came to realize I was strange looking. I would stare in the bathroom mirror for hours, trying to perfect the normal glance, the normal smile, the normal face, the normal expression. I came to realize I had a weird voice. I would record it, play it back, and spend hours trying to make it more normal. I came to realize I was strange in every way. I spent an eternity trying to be more normal, but it only proved I was the weirdest and strangest thing imaginable. Throughout my high school years, I was the one the teachers praised. I was the popular one. I was the most athletic. I was the one that all the girls had the crush on. I was the best, despite my efforts to be normal. I eventually gave up and resigned myself to being special and famous, winning awards and sticking out like a sore thumb, so to speak. Years passed, and my parents became even more distant as I became more strange, and as the closet filled up with awards, diplomas, and fan mail. Who would want to be special? Who would want to be unique? All it brings is weirdness. Chapter 2. If I wasn't weird, my parents would have stayed home and had dinner with me. If I was normal, they wouldn't have gotten drunk at the restaurant. If I wasn't weird, they would have paid attention while they were driving. When I arrived at my parents' funeral today, all of their family and friends gave me strange looks and whispered to one another. I could only imagine what they were saying. "That's their son. Oh my God, him? The strange one? Yeah, the strange one. He's so weird. I heard all the stories about how weird he was, but I never imagined he was this weird." "Me neither. How could such a normal couple have such a weird son? If he had any respect for his poor parents' memory, he would have stayed home. What strange thing is he going to do now?" Many came and shook my hand or hugged me. During the wake, some people drank and had a great time, while others cried and had a bad time. But everyone was normal, everyone belonged, and everyone stayed away from me. Today the will was read. I was under the impression that my parents' money would go to everyone but me. I was blown away, so to speak. They left me everything. Why did they do that? Is this a way of making me feel guilty? Were they hoping I could use the money to become normal? Is this their final revenge on me for being strange? I don't want to take their money. It was earned in the name of normality. Every cent of it is a reminder of what an oddity I am. I'm the last person who should have it. They also left me with their ashes. The inscription on the urn said, "We love you." What they really meant was, "Why couldn't you be normal?" Today was the strangest day of my life. Today I stopped running and hiding. I took the baseball and spelling bee award from the closet. These objects were the cause of such weirdness. I took my parents' ashes. I went to the bank and withdrew my parents' money. I put all of these things in the fireplace. This is what my parents would have wanted. "Do it for us," they would have said. I lit the match. I only had to drop it, and in the blink of an eye, as they say, my life would be 10 times more normal. It was that easy, but I did not have the courage. I took a long walk to the park, to clear my head, as they say. I looked at all the normal streets and all the normal homes. I thought about all the normal families that were inside, sitting down to a normal dinner. How happy the parents must be to have such normal spouses and children. How happy the children must be to have such normal parents and siblings. As I walked, I looked down at the grass and thought about my strange past. I listened to the crickets and thought about my strange present. I looked up at the trees and thought about my strange future. Every blade of grass is indistinguishable from every other. How great it is to be part of something, to be one of many. Every cricket has a normal chirp to it. The trees are like that too, one of many. Blades of grass aren't strange. Crickets aren't strange. Trees aren't strange. Why am I strange? It was a short walk back home. As I approached, I heard the sound of sirens. A fire truck passed me. My house was on fire. Did this have anything to do with the fire I almost lit? Then I noticed my neighbor's house was also on fire. I passed firefighters who were scrambling to put it out. A crowd of neighbors stared at me as I approached. Someone said that the fire had started from my neighbor's house. Imagine if my neighbor, like me, set his house on fire to start anew. If he had the same reasons as me, then I wouldn't be so strange. But that's wishful thinking, as they say. A firefighter informed me that it had been some type of electrical malfunction. "We will be able to put the fire out. The house can be saved, but any valuables inside are ruined." "Then don't even bother putting it out," I told him. The firefighter said something about me being strange. The baseball, the award, the money, and my parents' ashes are now lost and gone forever. The electrical malfunction did what I was afraid to do. Now I can begin anew. Now that every trace of my weirdness is destroyed, I can finally begin to be normal. Today was the strangest day of my life, but tomorrow and every day after shall be the most normal day of my life. Tomorrow I begin to become a nobody, a nothing, an average Joe, so to speak. Chapter 3. I cannot be certain whether at any time my feelings are normal or weird. Feelings are unreliable. I can never know if what I'm feeling is what most people feel. I can never know what other people feel. In fact, the jury is still out, as they say in court, on whether feelings actually exist. I never know if I'm feeling, let alone what I'm feeling. I think the death of my parents makes me feel sad. I think my being alone makes me feel depressed. I think I feel scared now. I think I also feel thrilled to no longer have to bear the burden of my strange past. I think I'm excited that I can finally be a regular nobody. Today I took the first step to becoming normal. I packed a normal amount of things and got on a bus bound for a city far away. As the bus got farther away, it was as if my weird past was also getting farther away. The streets were increasingly unfamiliar to me, and I was increasingly unfamiliar to the streets. If only the world was infinitely huge, I would then be infinitely small. and could keep going farther away from home forever. Every hour I would be another 50 miles away from my weird past. Every year I would be another 50,000 miles away from my strange history. Unfortunately, in the real world, I can only go so far away before I start coming back. When I arrived in the new city, I quickly found an average apartment to rent. Now my normal life begins. I am going to be so normal. I must think about all the normal people in the world. Adults, teenagers, children, old folks, men, women, minorities, postal workers, police officers, and so on, as they say. I must ask myself important philosophical questions. What is normal? How would I define it? How would normal people define normal? How would strange people define normal? How do normal people look? How do normal people act? How do normal people eat? How do normal people dress? How do normal people walk? What gestures do normal people make? How do normal people talk? What do normal people talk about? How do normal people make eye contact? Where do normal people do their normal things? What is the most normal number? What is the most normal color? What is the most normal shape? What is the most normal size? What is the most normal day of the week? What is the most normal month? What is the most normal season? If I was in a strange bar and a normal person came up to me and asked me what drink is a normal drink to order, and I had to give a strange answer, how would I respond? If I was in a normal bar and a strange person came up to me and asked me what drink is a strange drink to order, and I had to give a normal answer, how would I respond? Small talk is a normal way of saying normal talk. As far as communication goes, if it isn't small talk, then it's strange. And if it isn't strange, then it's small talk. Small talk, or chit-chat as it's often called, is what normal people do in social situations. It's all about talking about everyday, boring things. It's a way of communicating without saying anything important, making something unimportant sound important, and vice versa. It's about killing time and avoiding weird silence or weird subject matter. Current events are perfect topics for small talk because everyone is current, so everyone can relate and voice opinions, as opposed to something that happened, say, 10,000 years ago. As for locations, the best small talk deals with events that are nearby. Nobody relates to someone from another country, so it's best to focus on local things. Unless, of course, it's a big world war, in which case we are all involved. Sports and entertainment are two of the best topics for small talk, but the best topic of all is the weather. I will focus mainly on the weather. I will read the newspaper every day. By doing this, I can make endless small talk. One of the main criteria for being normal is having a normal job. The first normal job I will try for is a janitor. Today I handed out resumes. One guy said, "You don't look like a janitor." Another said, "You're overqualified." A few people called me special, but most treated me as if I was normal. Today I had my first interview. I thought the second I walked in, the manager might call security and say, "Get this weirdo off the premises." I spent an hour getting ready. I took a shower, but made sure not to get too clean. I combed my hair enough for it to not be messy, but not so much as to be tidy. I picked out and put on my most average-looking clothes. Using common expressions is a good way to fit in, but sometimes people aren't familiar with the particular expression, so it is important to add "as they say," or "so to speak." I had my work cut out for me, as they say. Successful interviewees are the most normal people of all. Successful interviewees can read people, can understand body language, and hear what people are saying behind their words. For the meeting, I chewed gum in an attempt at casualness. "Pleased to meet you," the manager said, but what he meant was, "You better not be strange." Pleased to meet you too, I said. Nice weather we're having, isn't it?
Yeah, I wish I was outdoors enjoying it,
he said, but what he meant was,
you better not be weird.
Oh, well, there's a good chance of rain later on.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah, it's been mostly sunny today, but tonight it's going to be cloudy. There might even be thunderstorms.
I sure hope not.
Hey, I said, changing the subject. Did you catch that game last night?
Actually, I missed it, but I'm glad we won.
Yeah, it was a close one. Despite my successful small talk, I worried that he would spot my weirdness a mile away, so to speak.
You won't find a place as nice as this. We're very proud,
he said. Well, if that's the case, sign me up, I said. He offered me way more than minimum wage to start. Any normal person would be suspicious of this. I wasn't born yesterday, as they say, I said.
What do you mean?
Average jobs don't pay that much, I told him.
Well, this one does.
Something fishy was going on, as they say. Something was rotten in Denmark, so to speak. I want minimum wage, I said.
You want minimum wage? Well, if you insist.
I shouldn't have to insist, I said. Thanks, but no thanks. I didn't take the job. I went for my second interview today. The place looked like your average business. The manager greeted me. Hey, I said, winking. Put her there, pal, so to speak. We shook hands. Nice weather we're having, isn't it? I said.
Yes.
In fact, the forecast says it's going to continue to be sunny like this for a few days, so enjoy it while it lasts. He didn't seem interested in small talk.
Would it surprise you to know that a lot of people look down on janitorial work?
He said. Would it surprise me? I was counting on it. Not at all, I said, and faked a yawn.
Most people think that any Joe Schmo can be a janitor, he said. They think it's this average job for only those with no expertise.
I think I became excited.
But they are wrong. I take it seriously. I happen to think highly of janitorial work, and I expect the people I hire to do the same. Do you understand?
Yes, I said. I think I became unexcited.
I only hire the best. If you think you can make it here, well, let's just say you have big shoes to fill.
He walked over to the other end of the room and opened a cupboard revealing a display case with ribbons, plaques, certificates, and awards.
Have a look,
he said. I'd rather not, I said.
I insist.
I got a good look at the awards. Best Janitor, Janitor of the Year, Most Valuable Janitor, Janitor of the Decade, International Janitorial Semi-Finalist, Silver Medal in the National Janitorial Olympics. This was a hell of a curveball, as they say in baseball. I had another interview today. I shook the manager's hand and made small talk. How about that weather? I said.
It's something, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been lucky lately. This one forecast said there would be light rain today, but it turned out to be wrong. We talked about the weather for a few minutes.
Now let's get down to business, the manager said. This is a very important job, and I expect it to be treated as such.
I was ready to leave.
So, why should I hire you?
He asked. I said. Normal people often say,
what?
I don't know, I said. Normal people often say, I don't know.
You don't know why I should hire you?
I shrugged. Normal people often shrug.
Well, then neither do I, he said.
I decided to help him be sure. Look, I said, I'm not special. In fact, I'm incredibly mediocre. So I don't know that you should hire me. There was a long silence. He stared me down. I did all of the normal things I could think of. I acted embarrassed, fidgeted, and stuttered. Either he would hire me for being normal or wouldn't hire me for being normal. It was his choice. I had done all I could. The ball was in his court, as they say in tennis. "So, do I have the job?" I finally asked. "You know," he said, "you're saying the strangest things, but I can tell by the look in your eyes that there's something special about you." I thought I had fixed the problem of the weirdness in my eyes. "You're hired," he said. "Then I quit," I said. Today I went for another interview, and the manager hired me right away. "Are you sure you want to work here?" he said. "Yes, why wouldn't I?" "Well, janitorial work isn't glamorous. Anybody can do it." "Well, janitorial work is for me." He welcomed me aboard, as they say on boats. I have finally made it. People will see me and say, "Oh, it's just a janitor." All my life I've wanted to be just a something, just an anything. When I tell people what I do for a living, they will think, "What a normal guy. What a nobody. What an average fellow who doesn't stand out in any way." I will clean up the dregs. I will mop up random spills. I will sweep and keep the public establishment spick and span, so to speak. Clean as a whistle, as they say. I will work in a big generic building, not as a chairman or a vice president, but as part of the everyday non-events that happen in the background. Nobody will ever wonder why the place is clean, or why it smells nice. Nobody will thank me or notice the job I did. I will be an anonymous cog of a cog in a machine. I will be so normal. Today was the first and last day of my first and last job. I woke up thinking I felt extra normal, and also nervous, like this day would make or break me, as the saying goes. I went to the bus stop and waited with all the other normal people, looking at them from the corner of my eye, and them looking at me from the corner of theirs. Eye contact is weird, especially among strangers. We were just a bunch of normal people waiting for the bus, on our way to work. After boarding the bus and finding a seat, I noticed, again from the corner of my eye, one man reading a newspaper. Unfortunately, I had already read my newspaper at home, but I couldn't wait for the next day, so I could read my newspaper on the bus just like him. I glanced at all the other passengers on their way to work, and they glanced at me. Were they thinking what a normal person I was? I got off at my stop, as did a few other passengers, and entered the building where I would be working. I went to the change room and met the two other janitors. "Who are you?" one of them asked. I'm the new janitor," I said, trying to act nervous. "Pleased to meet you." I tried to make small talk, but they didn't seem interested. They gave me a uniform and a locker. "You ever done any janitorial work before?" one of them asked. "No, but I will do my best to—" "Then you don't know what you're getting into. We're a team here. We work together. You scratch my back, I scratch his, and he scratches yours." What a great way of putting it. They showed me the punch clock, then led me down a hall. One of the two janitors led me to a public bathroom. "You clean this, and I'll be back to see how you did." I tried to do a normal cleaning job, but I hadn't a lot of cleaning experience. He came back 15 minutes later. "Are you tired yet?" "No. How does it look?" I said. This is where things took a turn for the worse, as they say in hospitals. He gasped, looking at the bathroom. "You mean you're all done?" "Yeah," I said. "You can't be. I've never seen anyone clean this fast. This is unbelievable. How did you do it?" I shrugged and said, I don't know." Then he said that horrible word. "Amazing." I had already blown my cover, as the police say. The battle hadn't even begun, and I had already lost the war. I had cleaned too fast. I knew I had to make up for the huge mistake in the bathroom. I decided to be extra slow in everything I did for the remainder of the day. They would soon forget about what had happened in the bathroom and dismiss it as a freak occurrence. The other janitor showed up and took me up a floor to a kitchen. "You clean this, and I'll be back to see how you did." I made a point of taking an extra long time. By the time he came back, I was still on the same tile. "I'm not nearly done yet," I said. "I need a lot more time." He inspected the place, then the tile I had been working on. "I can't believe this." "What?" I asked. "I've never seen a tile look so clean." He said it was spotless, as they say in TV commercials for cleaning products. Then he too said that horrible word. "Amazing." Now I had both of them thinking I was special. I should have been more sloppy and taken more time. If only I had known this going in. If only I knew then what I know now, as older people say. At lunch, I ordered the same thing as the two janitors did. When we sat, they began. "He's amazing. He cleaned faster than I've ever seen anyone clean in all of my 15 years of janitorial work. I couldn't believe my eyes." "Really? He's special." "Well, in all my 20 years as a janitor, I've never seen anyone make a tile as white as he did. He brings new meaning to the expression squeaky clean." "Really? He's amazing. What's your secret?" "It was an accident," I said. "I'm actually really slow, and I'm a slob. I'm not special or amazing. Just wait till you see what I do at the next bathroom, and the next tile." However, there would be no next bathroom. There would be no next tile. For the rest of the day they watched and commented on my every move. "Amazing. You made that floor 1,000 times shinier than it's ever been. It's positively glimmering. You made it smell 20 times fresher than I could ever dream. Listen to the faucets. When you turn them on, it sounds like they're singing." I wanted to tell them that if they would give me another chance, I would make the floor 100 times messier and duller. I would make the room smell worse than a sewer. I would make the faucets sound like they were crying. But that would have made it even more weird. When I used the broom with my left hand, they called me left-handed. When I used my right hand, they called me ambidextrous. I ran out of there while their backs were turned. I'm haunted by the way they stared at me. They knew I was strange. I had not fooled them for a second. I don't know what I did wrong. How hard is it to be normal? I don't know what normal is, and I never did. I will never be normal. I have now seen firsthand how hopeless it is. I want to run back to the protection of my past, but it's gone. What do I do now that I am stranded, a strange man with nothing, in a world full of normal people with everything? I will go hide in a forest and live like a troll, or an ogre, or a Sasquatch. I will live off of rodents and insects. At least the normal world will not have to look at me. I will live out my days in a forest and spare the world my strangeness. All I need now is to find a good, remote forest. Chapter 4. So the plan was, I would buy a bunch of canned food and then stow away on a train, headed to some distant forest somewhere. I scrapped the plan. It was weird. It was back to square one, so to speak. I spent all last night pacing and talking to myself, accepting and resigning myself to weirdness. It occurred to me that the window shades had been open the whole time. The whole world could have been watching me pacing and talking to myself. I closed the shades. If I couldn't be normal, at least my window could be. When morning broke, I opened the shades and stared out at the world I could not be a part of. I looked at the buildings and down at the streets, with what I thought was jealousy and sadness. I watched every motion of every passer-by. Each was carefree, normal in every way, and not even aware of it. I got a newspaper from a nearby stand. I flipped through it. On the front page, it said some guy killed a lot of people, and that the neighbors had said he seemed so normal. Must be nice. In the sports section, I noticed some baseball articles. In the entertainment section, there were all these famous people who looked normal. The business section featured all these people fitting into these neat, tidy, compartmentalized, normal jobs. I was tired, but I could not sleep. I turned on the TV. I went from channel to channel and saw cooking shows, talk shows, sitcoms, commercials, and music videos, all screaming and boasting, normal, normal, normal. I had to go out for groceries. I got in the elevator with a lady and her kid. The kid gave me a, "You're strange and you creep me out" look. I walked down the street and pedestrians noticed my strangeness. At the store, the cashier looked at me like he had seen a ghost. I went back home, paced, then lay down, and tossed and turned, as people who can't sleep say, as thoughts tormented me. It finally hit me. I can't give up. I have to put my whole soul into this endeavor. Only then can I succeed. I've been acting like a child, crying and running away at the first sign of difficulty. I shouldn't have expected to be normal at the snap of a finger, so to speak. Normal isn't something you dabble in. It's a lifelong commitment. It's an identity. It's a profound, deep-rooted experience, for Pete's sake, as they say. People spend their lives doing it. If my father was here, he would say, "That was just strike one. You have 2 left." I got my second wind, so to speak. I got back up and kicked off the dirt, as they say in sports. I handed out more resumes and went in for more interviews, and I succeeded. I don't know if it's normal to get a job this quick, but I got another job, as a waiter. I wouldn't be surprised if waiters are even more normal than janitors. When I arrived today at my new waitering job, I think I felt like an outsider. Customers and coworkers stared at me, wondering, "Who is that new strange-looking guy?" A fellow employee ran me through the basics, and I quickly got an understanding of what I would be doing. It seems simple enough, but that is what gets me every time. Normal is really simple, so simple that it's difficult, and I screw it up. Well, not this time. They gave me a few tables to serve, and I made sure to be slow and messy. Today went well, but I'm still a long way from being normal. I'm finally going to be normal. I think I'm getting into the swing of things, so to speak. Today a waitress caught my eye from the beginning of the shift. I thought about how having a girlfriend would make me more normal. Later she approached me and said, "You look uncomfortable." "Me?" I said. "I'm not uncomfortable at all." Up close she was even more attractive, I think. "Can you believe that weather out there?" I said. "It's really something." "Yeah, the forecast said you better bundle up because it's going to be a cold one." "You're new here, aren't you?" she said. "Yes, I am." "The trick is to not try too hard." I tried her advice. I tried hard not to try hard, and it seemed to work. This girl knew something about being normal. I knew I would look more normal if I had a normal girlfriend, but I didn't imagine that a girlfriend could also teach me to be more normal. I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as they say. I decided to ask her out. Unfortunately, I hadn't the foggiest idea, as they say, how to do it in a normal way. I was stumped, as people say when they do puzzles. She ended up asking me out. I wasn't sure how to respond. I shrugged and said, I don't know. Okay, I guess. Is it normal for me to be attracted to a woman? Is she a normal woman? And how beautiful is she? If she is only average looking, is it normal for me to find her beautiful? If she is above average looking, is it normal to be attracted to her? Today I was talking to a fellow waiter, and I pointed out the girl I had the date with. "I have a date with her," I said. "Wait a minute, who?" he said. "Her? Yeah, right." "What do you mean?" I said. "I mean you're lying," he said. "Why would I lie?" "No one can get a date with her," he said. "Nice try, though." "Why can't anyone get a date with her?" "Wait, you're serious?" he said. "How did you get her to go out with you?" I began to wish I had been lying. He thought I was weird. I shrugged and said, I don't know. He went up to a few other guys and pointed to me. I think my heart sank, as they say. I knew what he was saying. Something along the lines of, "See that guy over there? You'll never believe how weird he is." They all looked weirded out and spoke amongst themselves before they all approached me. "You're going to lunch with her? How did you do it? We've all tried to go out with her for so long, and she rejects everyone." They all walked away in amazement. Each of them returned shortly with a few more guys. There was now a group surrounding me, including my boss and a couple of customers. Way to lay low. Way to be strange. "Him? You have a date with her? I don't believe it. I think I was paralyzed with fear. Everyone was staring at me. Real normal situation to be in. I made an awkward exit. It turns out that this girl is far from normal. She's a fashion model who only works here to help make ends meet, as they say. This will ruin the whole job. Why do I have to get a date with a model? Why can't I get normal girls? I have to make her lose interest in me. Today me and the model had our date. I thought about how to turn her off. I decided that I would turn her off by being weird. I showed up on time. It's weird to be on time for things like dates. I sat down and noticed that everyone from the restaurant was there and watching closely. Was there a way to somehow convince them I was normal, while at the same time convincing her I was weird? I couldn't think of one. I decided I would act weird and turn her off, and risk turning everyone else off. I could always work to fix things later with everyone else. She showed up 20 minutes late. I decided it would be weird to skip the small talk. "I'm not into small talk," I said. "Neither am I," she said. How could she not like small talk? I decided to talk deep. There is nothing weirder than talking deep. Do you ever look up at the sky and say, "Why? Why am I here? What am I doing with my life?" Do you ever get sick of shallow things? Let's be deep. Let's be really deep. Let's talk. Let's really talk. "I've been wanting to do that for so long," she said, smiling. I had no idea how to proceed from here. She started talking about herself. "I'm a model," she said. "One day I'm going to be rich and famous. All my neighbors will be amazed, and they'll talk about how special I am. I'm meant for great things." This was a weird situation to be in. How do you turn off someone who wants to be abnormal? Should I act weird or normal? "First I want to be a model, then I'll be a supermodel, then I'll be a star, and then finally a superstar," she said. She wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise, as they say. "Ever since I was a child I was average," she said. "And I couldn't help but ask, why can't I be special?" For the rest of the day everyone treated me like I was special. They called me names like Stud, Mr. Smooth, and Ladies' Man. I have to fix this. I have to hatch a plan, as they say. Today I had another date with the model. Again, everybody came and watched. Again, I tried to turn her off. I had read the more unpleasant parts of the newspaper so that I could make unpleasant small talk. I was reading the obituaries today. There were a lot of deaths. One that stuck out was about a young girl who died right before her 5th birthday. "Enough small talk," she said, as if there could ever be enough small talk. "Let's talk about us." She took my hand. "I'm sorry," I said, "but I'm not into stars and models, and I'm especially not into superstars and supermodels. I'm into being plain and ordinary." She didn't even flinch. She batted her eyelashes at me, as they say, and tried to get me to go to her house after work. "I don't understand why you like me," I said. "I'm a total nobody." "No, you're a somebody. There's something special about you," she said. Later on, a waiter told me that the model was telling people all about me. It was then that I realized that everybody here knows me. Everybody notices my every move. I said to the other waiters, she only agreed to go on the date because she felt sorry for me, for being average. I'm not a stud, or Mr. Smooth, or a ladies' man. I'm just your everyday nothing. But they paid even more attention to me. A customer introduced himself to me and told me how he had heard all about me. He asked if he could bring his friend to meet me. Imagine a waiter being admired by customers. I'm not fitting in. I'm working hard at it, and I'm failing, even more than I failed at the janitor job. There was an incident today. Something finally happened that I've worried might happen. Someone that I used to know years ago from my weird youth came into the restaurant. The second I saw her, my entire weird past flooded back. I tried everything I could to avoid her, but she saw me. "Hey!" she screamed out, and everyone in the whole restaurant looked up and watched as she ran toward me. I almost ran away, but realized how weird that would be. "I can't believe it," she said. "Do I know you?" I asked. "Do you know me? Of course you know me." I looked at everyone in the restaurant and gave them a reassuring smile. "I think you have me confused with someone else," I said. "I'm just a waiter working in a restaurant." "I don't know what you're doing, but you are not just a waiter in a restaurant, and I could never confuse you with anyone else." I grabbed her by the hand and pulled her toward the door. I took her outside and toward a dark alley where hopefully nobody would hear. "What are you doing? What's going on?" she asked. "Calm down," I said. "But I can't believe it's really you. And what are you doing waitering in a restaurant?" "I can't explain. You wouldn't understand. But you're interrupting me, coming here, singling me out in front of everyone." "You disappeared. Everyone was wondering about you. And now I see you waitering in a restaurant." She thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, as they say. I had to get rid of her. I told her, "I can't talk. I must go." "But wait." I realized that she wasn't going to let me be normal. She knew where I worked. She would spill the beans, as they say. The whole thing, my whole job was going to be ruined. I may have to kill her, I thought. "I don't want to know you," I said. "Go away and don't ever bother me again." She ran off crying, but I don't think anyone saw or heard. Today the boss came out and put my picture up on the wall for everyone to see. There was something written underneath. I expected it to be, "Make no mistake, this man is not normal." My first guess was that girl from yesterday had identified me. Then I thought maybe it was the model, or the fellow waiters, or the customers. I decided that it was probably all of them. I approached. It said, "Employee of the Month." In front of everyone, the manager approached me, held out his hand and said, "Congratulations." I mechanically shook his hand and thanked him. If I said anything else, it would raise suspicion. Why didn't they put a spotlight on me with a sign above my head that said "Weirdo" and announce on a megaphone, "He's not normal," then have a whole parade about it and put me in a cage with a sign above it that said, "Come see the freak," and sell tickets? I put a large potted plant in front of my picture, but the manager moved it. I tried to maneuver my way to the picture and rip it off the wall while no one was watching, but everyone was always watching. I considered calling in a bomb threat, but the clock reached 5 and it was time to go. Having nothing left to lose, I bit the bullet, so to speak, ripped the picture off the wall, walked into the manager's office, and threw the crinkled-up picture onto his desk. "What is the meaning of this?" I said. "Why am I the employee of the month? I haven't even been here a month. I haven't even been here a week." He frowned and said, "I just wanted you to know how special you are. You're amazing." As I was leaving, one of my coworkers informed me that the model was running around telling everyone she was in love with me. Nothing is weirder than being in love. This job is over. This day is done. What a disaster. If my father was here, he would say, "Strike two." If my mother was here, she would say, "You're such a weird son." Chapter 5. It's not that losing that last job came as a big surprise, or pulled the rug out from under me, as they say. This failure only confirmed my lifelong pattern of failing to be normal. I decided to go to the ends of the earth to become a monk and take a vow of silence for the rest of my life. How could I be weird if I couldn't talk, and all I did was meditate? But I realized that, knowing me, I'd find a way. So I gave up on that pipe dream, as they call them. I decided to give another job a try. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, as they say in opera. Third time's a charm, so to speak. It was back to the drawing board, as the expression goes. I handed out resumes. Normal or not, I got a new job today. This time will be different. I've learned from the last job. I won't screw this up. This is my last chance to fit in. The stakes are high, as they say in casinos. It's do or die, so to speak. Sink or swim, as they say. I'm going to be a car salesman. I went to my new job today. As soon as I showed up, I was greeted by an extremely normal guy. Words can't describe how normal he was. I can't remember his name, but it was normal. "So," I said, "nice weather we're having, isn't it?" "What are you talking about?" he said. "It's raining." "Oh yeah," I said, realizing my mistake. but the forecast had said it would be bright and sunny. Yeah, it's funny how they're wrong sometimes, he said. We both laughed. After a few minutes of small talk, he said, I know it feels weird being the new guy at a new strange place. What feels weird, I said. Why would you think that? I don't think I've ever felt weird in my whole life. Oh, no offense, he said. Some people feel out of place in new surroundings. I thought that if you wanted to get familiar with the place, I could show you the ropes. He gave me a weird look and proceeded to walk me through the place. At lunch he showed me the cafeteria. I ordered the same thing that he did. We sat down at a table with these other normal-looking guys. I don't remember how many of them there were, but they all looked incredibly similar to the normal guy. I couldn't believe how normal they were and how identical they looked. A group of normal-looking guys that all fitted in together. And the thing is, they didn't look the same. They wore different clothes and had different hair colors and heights. But at the same time, they were all the same and interchangeable. Were they too normal? Was it normal for them all to look so normal? Were they all equally normal? Just sitting with them made me think I was one of them. So you're new here, one of them said. I sure am, I replied. Well, don't worry. We were all new here at one point, said another. Yeah, don't worry. You'll fit in fine. This was music to my ears, as they say. They were inviting me into their circle and assuming I was normal. So, one of them said, how about that rain? Oh, I was just talking about that with him, I said. Oh, one of them said. Yeah, I was just saying how the forecast said it would be sunny, but it ended up raining, I said. Yeah, and I was saying that it's funny how they're wrong sometimes, the normal guy said. We all laughed. I wanted to be their friend. I would never need more friends or more normal friends. I wanted to be one of them, to belong with them, and get mixed up among them. People would mistake me for them, and mistake them for me. People would say, aren't you so-and-so? And I would reply, I'm afraid you're thinking of someone else. No, I'm sure I know you, they would say. And I would reply, everybody says that. I've just got one of those faces, as they say. If I had a penny for every time someone came up to me and told me I looked like some normal guy they knew, I would be a millionaire, as the analogy goes. And then they would give me a second look and say, oh my, I can't believe I got you confused with him. I'm sorry. And I would laugh and say, don't worry about it. Happens all the time. I'm getting good at selling cars. I'm not going too fast or being too thorough. I'm trying really hard not to try too hard, acting like I'm not acting, and practicing to be spontaneous. During lunch today, as I sat talking with the normal guys, an extremely normal girl walked by. She had the most normal lips. Not full, not thin, but just right. Her eyes weren't blue or brown or green, but something right in between. They didn't shine, nor did they recede. They just kind of sat there. There was no expression on her face. It was blank, as if to say, I have nothing to say. She wore a plain dress, but not too plain. Her hair wasn't too long or too short. It was just right. You couldn't say she was pretty, but you couldn't say she was ugly. She was right in the middle. She patiently waited in line to get food at the cafeteria, and when it was her turn, she got what most people get. A number of common expressions went through my mind, for the first time making sense to me. It seemed like love at first sight, as they say. Could it be true love, so to speak? Were we, as the expression goes, soulmates? Who is that? I asked the normal guys. Who? That girl over there, I pointed. The one in red? No, I said. The one standing beside that guy? Asked another. No. The fat one? No. The skinny one? No. They guessed every person except her. She didn't catch anyone's attention. I had to get up and point to her. Her? One of them said, and laughed. Yes. Why are you laughing? I asked. Well, she's plain, one said. She's normal, another said. In fact, I've never seen a more normal girl. This is too good to be true, as they say. Selling cars has been difficult. I started from scratch, as the expression goes. But I've been picking it up without getting too much attention. Today during lunch, I made some small talk. I caught a great movie the other day, I said. I had really only read a review of the movie. And I really enjoyed it. It was a light-hearted comedy about the wacky adventures of an oddball character who is out of his element. Aside from the comedic tone, you can't help but start to care for him and hope for his success. "Ah, I saw that movie too," one of the normal guys said. "I really enjoyed it." "Yeah, it was an all-around good time," another normal guy said. "I agree," I said. I tried to figure out the secret to being a normal car salesman. I said to the normal guys, "I have a friend, a neighbor, who wants to be a salesman. I've given him the basic advice, but I don't know what else to tell him. What do you think?" I gave them my best poker face, as they say. If they guessed that I was the neighbor, it would all be over. One of the normal guys said, "It's all about just doing your best. As long as you give it your all, you'll be just fine." "It's not me, it's my neighbor," I said. "It's 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," said another. "He'll get the hang of it. He just has to put in some elbow grease. Yeah, he has to put the pedal to the metal." Though this advice was good, it didn't answer all of my questions. I was desperate to find someone who might give me advice. I noticed a normal enough looking guy sitting in the corner alone. He was normal, but there was also something strange about him. I was taken aback, as they say. Why was he so normal? Why was he so strange? There were his clothes and his posture, but there was something else, something more deeply normal and strange about him. I couldn't put my finger on it, as they say. "Who is he?" I asked the normal guys. "Who?" "That strange-looking guy," I said, and pointed. "Who?" Then I realized he wasn't strange-looking. He was normal-looking. "I mean that normal-looking guy," I said, and pointed again. "Which guy?" Then I realized he wasn't normal-looking or strange-looking. He was both strange and normal-looking. "That strangely normal guy," I said, and pointed again. "Oh," they all said. "Oh, him. Don't talk about him," said one of them. "Why not? He's a nice enough guy," said another. "I've talked to him before." "He's nice enough, but I wouldn't talk to him," said the third. "Why not?" I said. "Well, that's just it. I can't really say. He fits in, but at the same time he stands out." I decided to speak to the strangely normal guy. I approached and said, "Hello." "Hello," he said. "Just who might you be?" "I'm just your everyday guy," I replied. "So, nice weather we're having." "Yeah," he said. "Tomorrow is going to be partly cloudy," I said. "But it might clear up by lunch," he said. He knew his small talk. We chit-chatted about the weather. Then he changed the subject to local news. "Did you hear about the traffic accident that killed 8 people?" he said. A deadly traffic accident is a great subject for small talk. It sounds important because it's death, but it's not actually important because we don't know the people who died. "Oh yes," I said. "I heard about it. Oh, the humanity," as they said when that blimp went down. He demonstrated a good knowledge of sports and had seen all the current movies, but he had strange opinions on them. He drank a regular-sized coffee with just a teaspoon of sugar and a bit of cream, but he drank them like they were going out of style, as they say. He wore normal shoes, but they were laced weird. His eye contact was normal, but the way he broke eye contact was weird. The tone of his voice was normal, but his articulation was weird. His mannerisms and gestures were all normal and mild, but he overdid them in a way. Everything about him was both strange and normal. He truly was a strangely normal guy. I started doubting my own sense of weirdness and normality. I looked back to the table with the normal guys, and they were all looking at me. Were they thinking I was strange or normal or both? I decided to ask the strangely normal guy about being a normal car salesman. "I have a neighbor who wants to be a normal car salesman," I said. "I've given him the best advice, but I don't know what else to tell him. What would your advice be?" "Sales is about making the customer feel special," he said. "If you can do that, you're home free." To be a normal car salesman, you have to make others feel special? For the rest of the day, I tried this advice. I tried to make the customers feel special, and it actually worked. The customers treated me like I was extra normal. I bet if I had known this trick back during the janitor job, it would have all worked out fine. I never would have been Employee of the Month at the restaurant if I had bothered to make the boss feel special. This strangely normal guy has interesting and powerful insights into being normal. Today I decided to talk to the normal girl. I was intimidated and nervous. I mean, here was the most normal girl I had ever seen, and was likely to ever see again. Everything I could ever want in a woman, and what could I ever be to her? I wanted to tell her, "You are so very normal, and I want to be normal with you. You can help me become the most normal person ever." I wanted to tell her all my thoughts about normality, but of course I couldn't. "Hi," I said. She looked shocked. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o, as they say in Italy. Had I already made a weird impression? "Hi," she said. I decided to break the ice, as they say, with a few expressions. Word around the campfire, so to speak, is that you're something of a plain Jane, as they say. "I try," she said. I can't believe I made such a normal girl blush. We spoke about the weather for 10 minutes. She was good at it. I took a deep breath, not too deep, a normal deep breath, and I asked her out on a date. She said yes. "We're going for lunch tomorrow." If my father was here, he would say, "Home run." If my mother was here, she would say, "Way to go, but easy does it." If that girl from my past who I ran into at the restaurant were here, she would say, "He's normal after all." I stressed out about the date all last night. I got no sleep and barely ate. I thought about how I was so weird, too weird for any relationship, let alone a normal one. Just because she agreed to go on a date with me didn't mean she thought I was normal. Sure, I could try to hide my weirdness, but for how long? It was only a matter of time, so to speak, before she saw how weird I am, and then the shit would hit the fan, as they say. Then she'd run for her life, so to speak, screaming along the way and alerting everyone to how weird I am. Before the date, I practiced how I would act and talk. Every detail had to be normal. We met at a diner. We made small talk about the weather for an entire hour. I can't believe she was able to do it for that long. Then we spoke about romantic movies, soap operas, and fashion. When it was time to order, I waited and let her order first. The waitress said, "That's the most commonly ordered dish on the menu," and the normal girl giggled. When I ordered, the waitress said, "That's the other most commonly ordered dish on the menu," and I giggled. I was sweeping her off her feet, as they say. "So," I said, "tell me about yourself." "Oh, I don't know," she said. What a normal response. As we ate, we continued to chit-chat. I finally bit my lip, as they say, and took the plunge, so to speak. Normally I like to beat around the bush, as they say, but I have to ask you, would you be my girlfriend? I knew it was strange to be moving so fast, but I couldn't control myself. "I'd love to," she said. "Really?" I said. I couldn't believe my ears, as they say. We both leaned toward one another and kissed. I had no idea how to kiss, but I didn't have any time to prepare for it, or even worry about it. As we kissed, I thought, I think it's going normally enough. It's not too sweet, not too bland, not too passionate, not too boring, not too romantic, just right. A perfectly normal kiss. But much better than the kiss is the way she's looking at me. She's looking at me as though I am truly normal, and she loves it. Shivers are going down my spine, as they say, but literally in this case. I hope my lips aren't too wet. I hope hers aren't either. I better keep my eyes closed. I could ruin it all right now if I made eye contact. Eye contact is weird between strangers, but it's probably even weirder during a passionate kiss. If I looked at her the wrong way, she could run away and never talk to me again. She would tell everyone at work that I made weird eye contact while kissing, and the whole job would be over. I'm becoming an amazing average car salesman. I dare say I might be normal. Nobody comments on me. Everybody ignores me. It's like the cars sell themselves. I come to work thinking of how normal the day will go, and I leave satisfied that it went perfectly normal. I can't stop thinking about the normal girl, my normal girlfriend. I'm actually imagining a future with her. A long-abandoned dream of mine is now rekindled. An impossible dream. One day, I might have a normal wife. Me and my wife would live in a normal house. We would have 2 normal children, a boy and a girl. They would have normal names, like John and Sarah. Our backyard would have a swing set, a barbecue, a garden that my wife would tend, a lawnmower that I would operate, a tool shed, and a fence. Our front yard would have a 2-car garage and a front lawn. We would have a number on our house, a normal number, like 25. We would have a mailbox at the end of our driveway. Every Monday I would take the garbage to the end of that driveway, and my wife would call out to me, "Honey, don't forget the recycling." And I would shake my head because I almost forgot. My wife would go grocery shopping and buy normal food, like apples, broccoli, and even a few hydrogenated things. She would buy gossip magazines about all the latest celebrities. Me and my family would drive up and down our street on one of those bicycles for 4. And the neighbors, our normal neighbors, would comment to one another as we rode by. "Boy, is he normal. I wish I was as normal as him. How did he get to be so normal? That's what I was about to ask you. What a normal wife he has. What normal children he has. Why can't I be as normal as he is?" For the first time in my life, this dream actually seems possible. But this is too good to be true, so to speak. How could it be this easy? Sure, she seems normal enough, but so did the last one. And look how weird she turned out to be. And look how badly my normality suffered as a result. No, don't jump the gun, as they say. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, so to speak. Imagine the worst-case scenario. Watch me marry her and have kids, only to find out 10 years down the road that she had been weird all along. The dream would turn into my worst nightmare. I could end up with weird kids. I could end up trapped in a weird life. I must make sure to take this slowly and not fall head over heels, as they say. I must not lose my head, so to speak. I must not be weird. My job is going extremely well, I think. 2 days ago, I was introduced to a guy. Yesterday, the same guy introduced himself to me again. I told him we had already met, and he apologized. He had actually forgotten that he had already met me. I was on cloud 9, as they say. Today, that same guy introduced himself to me again, for the 3rd time. I have never heard of anything so remarkably normal happening, let alone happening to me. I had made no impression on him at all, twice. I explained his mistake again to him. He gave me a second look and said, "Oh my, I can't believe I forgot I met you again. I'm sorry." I laughed and said, "Don't worry about it. Happens all the time." I'm finally normal. It's amazing how many people like and help you if you're normal. It's amazing how easy and pleasurable life is when you're normal. If only my parents, the girl from my past, the janitors, the waiters, and the model could see me now, they would all unanimously agree, "He is so normal." Chapter 6. "The strangely normal guy has been fired," said one of the normal guys when I came into work today. Everyone was gossiping about him. Could it be true? During lunch, me and the normal guys made some small talk about sports, then chit-chatted about the strangely normal guy. "I haven't seen him all day," one of them said. "Me neither," said another. "Neither have I said. There's nothing better than going along with what other people say. "Where did you hear that he got fired?" one of them asked. "From this new guy. He said he overheard the boss yelling at him." "I heard it from the guy who works by the window. He saw the strangely normal guy pack his things and leave." "Me too," I said. "The manager's secretary told me he wasn't fired at all. He quit." "No, that doesn't make sense. He was fired. It was bound to happen." "Yeah, he was fired." "Yeah, that's what happened," I said. "But why? What do you think he did wrong?" "I heard he stole a car." "I heard he sexually harassed someone." "I was told he sexually harassed a customer." "You would think he'd have told someone what happened." We all nodded. "I think you're all overreacting. He probably just took the day off," another guy said. "Yeah, maybe he's right," I said. I asked more people for details. One guy said the strangely normal guy assaulted the boss, and another said he stole money from the company. Just when I find someone who can teach me new things about being normal, he disappears. Today was very normal. I've never felt so normal. When I got to work, I noticed an especially normal-looking car. Later on, an especially normal-looking guy came in. "I think I've got just the thing for you," I said. I led him to the normal car, and when he saw it, boy did his eyes light up, so to speak. He bought it without a second thought. I thought, won't it be especially normal if that normal guy has a normal house with a normal garage to park his new normal car in? Won't it be especially normal if he has a normal wife to drive in his new normal car? After work, I went out with the normal girl, my normal girlfriend. I brought her flowers. She smelled them and smiled. I took her to a middle-class restaurant. We talked about the weather for half an hour. I wanted to tell her how normal her beauty was, or how beautiful her normality was, but it wouldn't have come out right. I smiled and blushed. She smiled and blushed back. I took her home and we kissed on her porch by the moonlight before she went in. Still no strangely normal guy. I think his absence is bothering me. The normal guys are making me feel weird, I think. One of them has this little hula dancer toy on his desk. He hums to himself, and he is putting more and more pictures on the wall of his cubicle. At first there was one, then two. Now you can't even see any wall. This isn't normal. I want to tell him he should have less pictures on the wall. I mean, one or two is fine, but this is just weird. And that hula dancer toy is strange. He would probably say it's just a knick-knack, as they say, or something along that line. But even if it is a knick-knack, it's a weird knick-knack. And this is a business. What's business-like about a hula dancer? And why is he humming? He's a car salesman, not a singer. And even if he was a singer, he still shouldn't be humming. At lunch, this one guy was holding his fork in his right hand and his knife in his left. I wanted to tell him that the fork goes on the left and the knife goes on the right, as they say. He probably would have said he was left-handed. I would then want to tell him that being left-handed is even weirder. The normal guys continue to make me feel weird, I think. Now, I think even the customers are making me feel weird. I'm worried that people are noticing that I feel weird. Any attention is bad attention. To compensate, I have been concentrating extra hard on looking like I feel normal. But that too makes me feel weird. Today after work, me and the normal girl went to a movie. We shared a popcorn and a soft drink. I sat with my arm around her. We watched the normal couple on the screen, and I was in such bliss, thinking how we were just like them. I held her hand and kissed her right when the leading man kissed the leading lady. When she worried about the characters on the screen, she held me tighter, and at one point she even hid her head in my chest. I gently stroked her hair and said, "There, there," as they say. When a guy behind us was making too much noise, I turned and put my finger to my lips and said, "Shh, do you mind?" We must have been the most normal couple in the whole theater. I think I love the normal girl, and I think it's normal for me to love the normal girl, so long as I don't fall in love. On my way home from work today, I noticed this short, chubby man walking with his short, chubby kid, just walking along. Maybe they were coming back from a baseball game or something. He was bragging to his son about something. At one point, the man threw his baseball cap up and over a beam, and then winked at his son as he caught it. It amazed me to see a father acting like a big shot, so to speak, and his son thinking, "Look at my dad, he's such a big shot, and I'm going to be just like him one day." A gang of teenagers saw the father acting like a big shot and started making fun of him, saying he was trying to be cool. I thought about being cool and how it related to being normal. The father tried to ignore them and kept walking with his son, but the teens didn't stop. My first thought was to join the teens and make fun of the father. My second thought was to stand up for the father, but I decided to stick to the background. I couldn't help but think of the father and son, how the son had seen his father humiliated, how the father would never again be a big shot, and how his son would never again look up to him. The teens chased the father and son away. He shouldn't have thrown the baseball cap over the beam. There was no need. He asked for it. It just goes to show you what happens when you try to act special. Today at work, I sold 2 cars to one customer. A double sale. I didn't mean to. I didn't even want to sell him 1 car. During lunch, one of the normal guys singled me out and announced my double sale to everyone. It was a disaster. I tried to tell them that I had nothing to do with it. Another normal guy spoke up. "This guy is so good at selling cars, he could sell a car to a car salesman." They all started laughing. It weirded me out, them laughing at me. What were they laughing at? How special I was? How weird I was? Were they laughing at how normal I was? Why me? Why single me out? Why couldn't they laugh at each other and leave me out of it? After work, me and the normal girl, my normal girlfriend, went for a picnic. I was attracted to her. I wanted to grab her and shake her and hug her and kiss her. I wanted to tell her how normal she was. She made me feel so normal, I think. This situation was so normal, me and her on a picnic. I wanted it to never end. We talked about the weather for half an hour. Then I flirted. "That's a nice dress," I said. "Thank you," she said. "Your hair looks nice too," I said. "Thanks," she said. Then I told her, "I wrote a poem for you." I recited, "Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you." "That's the most beautiful poem I've ever heard," she said. It was supposed to be a normal poem. I got worried. "Well, actually, I didn't write it," I said. "I came across it. It's actually a very average poem." "I still love it," she said. I stopped having lunch with the normal guys. They do too many weird things. And also, it's not normal to hang around the same people for too long. Whether they're more normal than me, or I'm more normal than them, I can't say. The other day, I saw them all taking turns giving me weird looks. They were probably saying to each other, "He's normal on the outside, but weird on the inside." The customers were also giving me weird looks. I keep thinking they can't wait for my weirdness to come through so they can say, "Ha, see, he's not normal at all." Well, they'll have to wait a long time for that. After work, I got a very normal haircut. I bleached and ironed my dress shirt and put a random coffee stain on it. If they want to expose me, well, they've got their work cut out for them, as they say. Today started off normal enough. I bought a coffee and a paper and took the bus to work. I got to work and sold a few cars. Not too many, not too few. I chewed gum, whistled, and chit-chatted. But I noticed the customers giving me strange glances and mumbling things that sounded like, "He's weird." I didn't know how to react, so I ignored it. But it got louder and more frequent and more numerous. I ran to the bathroom and took deep breaths. I came out and ran up to one of the normal guys. "Is my hair too tidy?" "No," he said. "Is my shirt too clean?" "No." "Is there anything weird about me?" "No," he said, looking at me like there was something weird about me. I shouldn't have asked. He would have said no, regardless of whether I was normal or weird. I ran back into the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. My hair and my shirt were fine. I looked perfectly normal, except for that certain something in my eyes. That twinkle, as they say. That spark of weirdness. But no, I knew how to hide that. I ran to the normal guys. "There's nothing weird about me?" "No," they said, looking at me like there was something weird about me. I shouldn't have asked. The boss called me to his office today. People were watching. He had caught wind, so to speak, of the gossip going around about me. "I just want you to know that I've been doing nothing out of the ordinary. I have not excelled or made any kind of—" "I want to promote you," he said. "What?" I said. "I want to promote you." "But why?" I said. "You're the best employee we've got." "No, please, I don't deserve it," I said. "You totally deserve it. You're special. You're amazing." "I'm not special," I said. "I'm not amazing. I don't understand why you're doing this. I've done everything I could think of to just fit in. Son, there comes a time in every man's life where he has to come up to the plate. I don't want to come up to the plate. I want to be in the outfield. It'll be the best thing that ever happened to you. I wanted to fall on my knees and beg him to let me be normal. I don't understand why you have to do this, I said. Because you've earned it, he said. And might I add, you're acting strange. I think I was feeling weirder than I've ever thought I felt. Everyone stared at me and talked about me as I awkwardly ran out of there. I went to the normal girl's place, my last normal haven. I heard the news, she said. You did? You mean the weather? Congratulations. I knew you would get the promotion, she said. You did? I asked. I wanted to bury my head in the sand, as they say, regarding ostriches. You're the best. I'm in love with you, she said, and kissed me passionately on the lips. In love with me? I imagined how many pedestrians could see her kissing me passionately. How many neighbors heard her say that she was in love with me. I had a normal job, normal friends, and a normal girlfriend. I had it all, but I couldn't keep it. I am weirder now than I have ever been. I had it all, and it's all gone. The normal girl would have helped me become normal. We would have had normal children together. I think I loved her. I think she broke my heart. Is it normal to have your heart broken? I wasn't normal enough for her. There's nothing stranger than the girl you want to spend the rest of your life with, falling in love with you. I could picture my father looking at me and saying, "Strike 3, you're out." I could picture my mother, my neighbor, the girl from my past who I ran into at the waitering job, and the strangely normal guy, all saying, "What a weird, strange person." I'm not normal enough to have a relationship. I'm not normal enough to be loved. What kind of weirdo fails at 3 normal jobs in a row? I will never work another job. How could I ever have a family? What would my children and grandchildren think if they could see me now? And my great-grandchildren? They would think I was a weirdo. They would fear for their own normality because of me. I will never be normal enough to even have a wife, let alone children or grandchildren. I had my dreams in the palm of my hand, so to speak, and I let them go forever. It's all over now. Chapter 7. To think I had these ridiculous ambitions of fitting in and being a Joe Nobody, as they say. I rack my brain, I pace, and I take deep sighs, but I can't make sense of these failures. I really thought I had finally figured it out. I've thrown in the towel, as they say in boxing. I don't have any clue what I am going to do with my life now, and I don't really care. I want to disappear, but I don't know how to. The neighbors and the landlord are giving me strange glances. They know something weird is going on. I would end it all right now if I thought I could do it in a normal way, and be some John Doe, as they say in morgues. But I can imagine what would happen. People would say, "That's the weirdest suicide I have ever seen." I decided that suicide isn't the answer, but attempted suicide, now there was an idea. I could attempt suicide, and then the doctor would announce what an average suicide attempt it was. Word would get out. One thing would lead to another, and I would be normal. I could be one of those people who make repeated attempts at suicide. So I did it. I slit one of my wrists and was rushed to the hospital. "You have no idea how lucky you are," the doctor said. "If you had lost just one more drop of blood, you would have died." He proceeded to spread the word about what an amazing recovery I had made, and what a weird attempted suicide it was. Should I go off and live a life of weirdness? Should I join the circus and be the freak? It would be a good idea if the circus would accept me, but they'd probably say I'm too freaky even for them. Should I study rocket science for a few years, and then build a rocket ship and go off into space, and spare the whole planet of my weirdness? Maybe I could look for a planet inhabited by creatures as weird as me. But that's not realistic. There is no creature as weird as me on any planet. Should I go and live a subterranean life in the sewers, among the rats, garbage, vermin, filth, slime, feces, and other weird things? Should I get plastic surgery to alter my face so that it looks more normal, so that nobody can recognize me and I can start fresh, as they say? Maybe the whole problem is my gender. Should I get a sex change? These harebrained schemes, so to speak, won't work. I have paced my apartment and the street and the city. I have waited for days, weeks, and months for a solution. But nothing is coming. Chapter 8. Desperate times call for desperate measures, as they say. Tonight I went to a nightclub. The idea was that I would try to meet a new normal girl to replace the old one. Yeah, right. And lightning was going to strike twice, as they say. I was lucky enough to find a needle in a haystack, so to speak, and now I was hoping to find another one? I can't say I was too motivated, but I went. There were lots of seemingly normal women. I watched them, wondering if they were normal on the inside. How normal would they look in 10 years? How normal would they look when that makeup wore off? A few women approached me and chit-chatted. One of them mentioned sex. All of a sudden it hit me. Maybe that whole girlfriend thing was just a dream, and maybe it isn't normal to want dreams to come true. Maybe normal people settle for what they have. Maybe normal people don't have friends or girlfriends or stable, normal jobs. Maybe normal people accept strangeness and proceed from there. Maybe I've been wrong about normal all this time. Maybe the human heart is not a normal thing. Maybe love is not normal. Maybe the whole dating and breaking up, and the whole getting married, getting divorced, having kids and family, getting remarried, living happily ever after. Maybe it's all weird. Maybe normal people don't have serious relationships. Maybe love is special, but sex is what being normal is all about. Maybe I couldn't see the forest for the trees, as they say. Maybe I've been searching for a normal woman, when in fact I should have been searching for lots of normal women. Maybe sex and promiscuity are normal, and love is what's weird. The more I think about it, the more it makes sense. This latest epiphany rattled my brain, as they say, all week. I had a lot of questions about sex. How much sex is normal? What kind of sex is normal? What are the normal ways to solicit sex from women? Where do I go to get sex? If my sexual performance is normal, and the girl's sexual performance is weird, is the overall sex normal or weird? I remember a time at the car salesman job when the strangely normal guy had pulled me into the broom closet. "I'm going to a prostitute after work. Wanna come?" he had said. I don't know, I had shrugged and said, unsure of the normality of hiring prostitutes. "You think it's a good idea?" "What are you talking about? It's a great idea," he had said. "Policemen, doctors, lawyers, and priests all hire prostitutes. In fact, you've got to wonder about anybody who doesn't hire them." "Yeah, that's what I always thought," I had said. I didn't believe him at the time, but I did think about it. And now it seems he was right. Today I hired a prostitute. On the phone, the lady said, "We have gorgeous girls." "Oh, I don't want gorgeous," I said. "We have ugly girls too," she said. "I don't want ugly either. Something right in the middle," I said. When she arrived, I was nervous. I didn't know how to act. "Hello," I said. "Pleased to meet you." She wore strange, provocative clothes. "Nice weather we're having, isn't it?" I said. "It's humid but sunny." "Yeah," she said. "The weather has been good lately." I decided to chit-chat with her about a soap opera I had read about in the TV guide. "I was watching it the other day," I said, "and I couldn't believe that the daughter of the wealthy tycoon had slept with that shady character from the auto body shop." "Oh, you saw that?" she said. "Wasn't that something?" "I'll say." "Say," she said, "you don't look like the kind of guy who needs to pay to get a lady." "What are you talking about? Of course I am." "All right," she said. "What do you want me to do?" "Oh, just make yourself at home," I said. "No, I mean, what's your pleasure?" she said. "Oh, you know, same as all your average customers." I was excited, but when the sex actually started happening, I had a lot of difficulty getting in the mood. She said all sorts of things in an attempt to arouse me, but to no avail, as they say. Finally, with no options left, I got her to tell me how normal I was. That did the trick. For the last few days, I have flirted with and even harassed women on the street. I figure I should be like the truck driver who honks his horn at a pair of hooters, so to speak, or the construction worker who whistles at a set of legs, as they say. I had lots of sex. Well, not too much sex, but let's just say when I look in the mirror these days, I'm seeing an extremely normal man. I'm seeing the man my parents would be proud of, the man my neighbor would relate to, the man the normal girl would want to have normal children with. Oh, if they could only see me now. I hired 2 prostitutes today. "Hi, honey," one of them said. "How can we help you tonight?" "You tell me I'm normal, and you tell me I'm average," I said. They looked at me like I was weird, but that's okay. A normal end justifies a weird means. "Well, ladies," I said, "let's make sweet music together, as they say." They did their jobs a little too well. I think I felt so normal and excited that I only lasted a few minutes with them. Then I think I felt strange. They say that if you only last a few minutes, then you are less normal. After we finished, they told me, "You're well endowed." "What?" I said. "It's really big," they both said. "No, it's not big at all," I said. "In fact, lots of people have told me it's small and barely noticeable." "It's not like it's something to be ashamed of," they said, and looked at me like I was weird. "It isn't big, is it?" "It's normal-sized, isn't it?" I said. "Are you upset about it?" one of them asked. "Of course not," I said. "Yeah, you know what? Come to think of it, it's actually pretty small," one of them said. "You're right," the other one said. "I must have been looking at it from the wrong angle. You're right, it's a little size." "But you could make a killing with it in porn," one of them said. "Porn?" I asked. "Yes, I know a porn director, and he's been looking for someone just like you," one of them said. "What do you mean, someone just like me?" "Someone with a regular endowment," she said, and she gave me a business card. I wondered whether porn was normal or strange. She could tell I was uncertain. "Porn is perfectly normal," she said. "Policemen, doctors, lawyers, and priests are all into porn. In fact, you've got to wonder about anybody who isn't into it." "Yeah, that's what I always thought," I said. Today I saw the normal girl across the street. I decided to pretend I didn't see her, but she started calling after me. She looked happy to see me. We made small talk for a few minutes, and then she asked me to go for coffee sometime. "I guess," I said. All of my old thoughts of love came back and fought with my new thoughts of sex. Later I met the porn director. He seemed normal enough. We made small talk and then got down to brass tacks, as they say. We argued the size of my endowment. Then we argued the size of my role. We finally agreed that it was small. "And this company, this is a normal porn company, right?" I said. "Run-of-the-mill," he said. "As they say," I added. I did my first porno. As I performed, I think I felt weirder than I've ever thought I felt before. "It's perfectly normal for the first time to feel weird," the director said. I nodded and considered this. It made sense. Some of the most normal things in the world seemed to feel weird at first. A couple days later, I did another one. Again, I thought I felt weird, but again the director encouraged me. Today I did my third porn, and I don't think I was feeling weird anymore. I think I was feeling normal. I'm getting the hang of this, as they say. I'm getting the gist of it, so to speak. As I performed, I thought of what my parents would say if they were here. I never imagined he could be so normal, my father would say. I always knew he would be normal one day, my mother would say. Sex is much more normal than being a janitor, a waiter, a car salesman, a boyfriend, an outfielder, a spelling bee contestant, or a son. If only I knew then what I know now, as they say. I wouldn't have waited until now to lose my virginity. If anybody had come up to me when I was a kid and said, "Normal is just a matter of hiring prostitutes, being a porn actor, and having as much sex as possible," they would have saved me years of weirdness. I think it's smooth sailing from here, as they say. Today I met the normal girl for coffee. She cut right to the chase, as they say. "I don't understand why you just stopped talking to me," she said. As she continued, I couldn't help but notice her normal hair, eyes, and lips, and her normal dress. I thought about how normal it would be to have sex with her. "I guess I weirded you out when I said I was in love with you," she said. "Well, I want to apologize for that. I wasn't really in love with you. I just thought I was. When I came to my senses, I realized you're not special at all. I mean, you're really just an average car salesman. Just an everyday nobody. You're nothing." This was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever said to me. This was too good to be true, as they say. I had overreacted about the whole thing. We could be together again, but first we had to make small talk. "It's such a nice day today," she said. "That's what I was thinking," I said. "Not too hot, not too cold, and looking like it's going to stay that way, at least until tomorrow, when it'll be partly cloudy." "I heard that too," she said. We spoke about the weather for over an hour. I guess we had some catching up to do. How I missed these talks. I finally asked the big question, "Do you want to be my girlfriend again?" I guess so," she said, shrugging. She answered perfectly, like she couldn't care less either way. My dream came back. The whole white picket fence, the whole two-car garage, and children, and a family, and a backyard, and neighbors. The whole picture of normality soared back into my life. I reached my hand out, and she did the same. "So," I said, "I don't even know what you've been up to. Let's get caught up. Let's get up to speed, as they say. How is your life? What do you do?" "Oh, I'm a librarian," she said. "That's my girl," I said. "What about you?" she asked. "Pornos," I told her. "Pornos?" she asked. "Well, I've only done a few so far, but it looks like several more are lined up." She said nothing. After I quit the car salesman job, and after you and I broke up, I was down in the dumps, so to speak. Luckily, I found my way back on the right track, as they say. I got things sorted out. It started with prostitutes, and that led to pornos, and now I'm back on my feet, so to speak. How about you? Is the library all that it's cracked up to be, as they say? "Pornos and prostitutes?" she asked. "Yeah." "You're a great sinner." "What?" I asked. A tear slid down her face. "A great sinner?" I wondered. Another tear slid down her face. "Why are you crying? I don't understand," I said. She looked at me as if to say, "You're a weirdo," then got up and left. I was about to chase her, but noticed people staring and decided against it. I paced the streets, wondering what had just happened. She had rejected me again. In one moment she gave me back my dreams, and in the next moment she took them away again. Was she playing mind games? I was really hurt, I think. I did my best to get her off my mind, and rushed to the porno. While I was performing, And amid the camera flashes and director's suggestions, sex was the furthest thing from my mind. All I could think of was the normal girl, and how once again I would never have another normal girlfriend, wife, or any of the many other normal things that went with it. Chapter 9. "You're a great sinner," she said. Why did she look at me like I was the weirdest thing that ever lived? I lay in bed for hours last night, unable to sleep. The picture filled my mind of her weirded out, teary-eyed face as she said, "You're a great sinner." Am I a great sinner? I've thought about this long and hard. If I'm a great sinner, then what is a great sinner? I never knew she was religious. It never crossed my mind, as they say. Is it that weird to be a great sinner? Should I phone her and beg her forgiveness? No, she obviously doesn't want to speak with me. She wants to get as far away from me as possible. She obviously thinks my sex life is a great sin. That much is clear. But sex is normal. So if sex is normal, and sex is a sin, then sins must be normal. But then, why was she looking at me weird? I'm going around in circles, as they say, getting nowhere fast, so to speak. "You're a great sinner," she had said. Maybe I need to learn how to be a normal sinner. Even if I can't win back the normal girl, becoming a normal sinner and learning about religion will make me more normal. Religion seeks normality through worship, and worship happens by way of churches, prayers, sermons, priests, kneeling, sitting, standing, and reciting. Religion is also about following, getting others to follow, and striving to be a better follower. I can't believe I never got into religion before. It seems tailor-made for me, so to speak. I headed out to the most normal of the Christian churches. In the main room, 100 or so people knelt, and I followed suit, so to speak. I sat not in the front row, not in the back, but right in the middle. As the ceremony proceeded, I recited, sang, followed all the priest's instructions, and took in the thought that here I was being religious in a normal way. I looked around at all the other worshippers. Some prayed, some chit-chatted with one another, some looked up at the cross, some looked bored, some looked deep in thought, and some looked both bored and deep in thought. I looked up at the Son of God on the cross. He also looked bored, deep in thought, or both. The story of the Son of God is that he preached weirdness, was labeled a weirdo, and the people killed him for it. He died for our weirdness, and like a true weirdo, the Son of God then rose from the dead. Looking up at the Son of God, I thought about the story. I never understood it. How can he be weird if he's the Son of God? God is divine normality. How could God of all people have a weird son? How can I worship something that doesn't even make sense? A priest came up to the altar and began preaching. He spoke about the Lamb of God. The symbol of God is a lamb. I started thinking how lambs, or sheep, are normal because they sit in the background eating the grass. The wolves are the weirdos because they are few and they take the spotlight and make a big scene, violently killing the sheep. But the sheep are many. They are quiet. They form a herd, and they follow. Sheep are the picture of normality. I was right about religion. It is about having a profound spiritual experience with normality. I will be a sheep. I will be a sheep who worships a sheep. Today I did another porn, but I couldn't focus. All I could think about was religion and fitting in with the Christians. After the porn, I went back to the church. As I approached, I was not nearly as uncomfortable as I had been the first time. I was entering a place that held normal to be a sacred and powerful thing, a holy thing. I entered the building, blessed myself, and asked, "Dear God, let me be more normal." I looked up at the statue of the Son of God. He didn't look godly at all. He looked average. They say the Son of God was weird. But what if he was actually normal? What if he was average and normal in every way, and the people who killed him were the real weirdos? And what if they killed him because they were jealous of his normality? The priest came up to the altar and began preaching about heaven and hell. Heaven is where normal people go when they die, and hell is where weird people go. I read some of the Bible. The first story I read was how God created the world. For 6 days God created the world, and he saw that it was normal, and he said that it was good. Then there was the story about the first man and woman. The first man and woman were perfectly normal, and they lived together happily and normally in a normal garden. Then the devil, who is the most strange and weird thing ever, approached the woman and said, "Eat this fruit, and you shall be weird." And the devil tempted her, telling her how being weird is all wild and exciting. The man and woman ate the fruit and became weird, and God came down and said, "Where are you?" And the man said, "I'm hiding in the bushes. I saw that I was weird, so I hid." "How do you know you're weird?" asked God. God figured it out and punished them. Because of their weirdness, from that time on, all people have original sin, which means everybody is born weird. I read a story about how God came down and told this normal man that he was going to cause a flood that would kill all the weird people. He told the normal man to build a big boat so he and the animals wouldn't drown. Today I went to church again. Looking around at everyone praying made me want to do the same. I knelt and closed my eyes. I thought about how I was just one of 100 or so people, all sitting there silently, and that thought calmed me. Now I had to pray, but how would I do that? What should I pray about? "Dear God," I prayed, but then I wondered if that was a normal way to address him. "Dear God," I prayed, "how's it going?" Then I wondered if it was normal to be asking God how it's going. I had no idea. Then I wondered what I would pray about. I wasn't ready to pray. I went home and got a pad and paper. I wondered about how to start off my prayer and what tone to use. I decided to make it sound improvised. I also decided that the main goal of a prayer is to pretend you actually believe in God. After many edits and rewrites, I finally came up with something prayable. I memorized the prayer, went back to church, knelt, and recited. "Dear God, how are you? I'm fine. I'm not sure that I addressed you in the normal way, but it's normal where I come from. Also, sorry for taking off in mid-prayer earlier, but, well, you know how it is. Hope you are well. What's new up there? Not much? Well, down here the weather's pretty good. Bit of rain last night, but today it's sunny and humid. There's been a nice refreshing breeze all day." I made small talk about the weather for a few minutes. "This is a pleasant church you have here. In fact, it's the most normal and pleasant church I've been to. I'm not sure what to say, God. I'm a pretty normal fellow, just trying to be religious. I'm sure you are aware that there are lots of weirdos here on earth. The reason I am here today is to ask you to help me become even more religious and normal." Then I really laid it on thick, as they say. "I feel your presence deeply, and I'm not just saying that. My soul is filled with normality, and I will do my best to reject all weirdness. If God is real, then I shouldn't have put that stuff about weird and normal in my prayer. But then again, he might appreciate my honesty. Maybe it doesn't matter whether or not God is real. All that matters is that my prayer was normal. Maybe it doesn't matter if the prayer is normal. All that matters is that it has a normal intent. God himself is nothing. The prayer in itself is nothing. The ceremonies are nothing. All normal things are nothing. Wow, I think I'm having a spiritual religious experience. I think I feel as though my soul is becoming normal. Everything will be different now. I'm becoming part of something bigger than myself. I'm becoming part of a vast and divine normal. Where was I before religion entered my life? Where would I be now without religion? I thought about this today as I did a porn. Because of my newfound spirituality, my performance was more natural and normal than ever. After the porn, I went to church again. First I prayed, "Dear Lord, thank you for allowing me to worship you, and in turn to be part of your divine normality. I am blessed just to be able to go through the motions, as they say, of this whole religious thing. I'm already in heaven." I guess I was getting cocky. Without any knowledge of how to do it, I went into the confessional. "What are your sins, my son?" said the priest. I was taken aback. I had jumped into something I was not ready for. What were my sins? My mind raced. I didn't even know what normal sins were. I decided to make normal small talk. "Did you see that weather out there, Father?" "Boy, is it nice out today," I said. "Yes, but what of your sins?" he said. "Just a second, Father," I said. My mind continued to race. I decided to confess about the sex. "I've been having sex with prostitutes on a regular basis," I said, "and I have been appearing in pornos." "Pornos?" the priest said, weirded out. "Yeah," I said, "but not starring, just background supporting work. Nothing special." He grew quiet. I had to think of a more normal sin. "I killed someone," I said. "You killed someone? Are you serious?" he said. I got nervous and took it back. "Actually, I was just joking." "Did you kill someone?" he said. "No," I said. "Seriously, my sins are actually very normal. Very everyday, as they say." He paused and sighed. "My son," he said. "I stole a car, but it wasn't fancy or expensive. It was a regular car." What was I to say? If I told him that the porn stuff was really true, he'd laugh me out of there. If I told him that all that stuff about prostitutes was true, he'd stone me out of there. "These aren't normal sins," he would say. "You're a great sinner," just like the normal girl said. He would condemn me. And what if he repeated it to the whole church? No, I wasn't ready yet. I had bitten off more than I could chew, as they say. I'm not quite normal yet. Chapter 10. I walked down the street today with the weight of the world on my shoulders, as they say. I was still confused about sins. How would I commit normal sins? How much sinning was normal? Where could I find this out? Who could I ask? And lo and behold, as they say, I saw the strangely normal guy on the other side of the street. I called to him and crossed. "How are you?" I said. "I was surprised to find out when you had left, and nobody had any answers. What happened?" "Oh, you know, the usual." I knew I shouldn't pry. Of course, that's what I figured. "You still working there?" he said. "No," I said. "I'm in between jobs." "Hey, so how about this weather?" "It's something." He soon got down to business, as they say. "Now what do we do?" I asked. "You go break into that house, and I'll steal everything inside," he said. "What if there are people in there?" I asked. "Then you kill them," he said. "I kill them? Are you serious?" I said, copying the priest's reaction from when I had told him I had killed someone. "Why, can't handle a bit of violence?" I shrugged and said, I don't know." "It's normal to be violent." "Oh, I know, but murder?" "Look, if you can't handle a bit of crime—" "I can handle it," I said. I started toward the house, thinking, there's no way he wants me to kill anyone. I mean, murder is weird, isn't it? But then again, lots of people do it. I debated it with myself and decided that murder is normal, so long as it isn't extreme. I pressed forward, having next to no idea what I would do when I got there. Luckily, there was nobody home. I stole a number of valuables and was out of there in no time flat, as they say. I got back outside and found the strangely normal guy. He looked at the things I had stolen and said, "We'll split it, 50-50. "I don't need the money," I said. "Crime doesn't pay, as they say." He looked at me like I was weird. "I'm in it for the crime," I told him. "Okay then, how about this? From now on you do the crime and I'll take the money," he said. "Sounds like a plan, as they say," I said. I went back to church today. I finally had a normal sin to pray about and confess and be forgiven for. First I prayed. I had spent hours memorizing and rehearsing. This time I did it right. "God, long time no see," as they say. I don't know what the weather is like up there, but down here it's mostly cloudy with rain. I prayed about the weather for a while. "Anyhow, I have a sin," I prayed. "I committed a real doozy this time," as they say. I feel guilty about it, I think. I don't know if you've ever felt such guilt, but I have to say, it hurts. I broke into a house and robbed it. I'm sorry. After finishing up the prayer, I went to the confession booth. "Tell me your sins, my son," the priest said. "All right, fasten your seatbelt, as they say, Father, because boy have I got a sin for you," I said. The priest nodded.
I broke into a house and stole from it." "I see," he said. I basically repeated to the priest the same speech I had prayed to God. "I can't believe what a great young man you are to confess this sin and to have such zest for being forgiven. I can tell that you are special." What was this? Things had once again somehow taken a big wrong turn, so to speak. He told me to say a few prayers and I would be forgiven. I knelt to say my prayers, but instead of praying, I wondered about the confusing news. Had I not made a normal confession? Had I not committed a normal crime? Why did he say I was special? Just when I'm finally thinking that I feel normal, someone goes and calls me special. I met with the strangely normal guy today. We did some drugs. "We're going to be meeting up with a gang of thugs," he said. "They're real crazy." I knew what he was talking about. Thugs are all into acting crazy. If people think you're crazy, nobody will challenge you, and nobody would dare call you weird. "When they meet you, I want you to play stupid," he said. I also knew what he meant by stupid. When you're around gangs and gangsters, you should avoid showing knowledge. A gangster has no need for knowledge. He's normal just the way he is. "Just play it cool," he said. By cool, he meant every gesture, every action, and every reaction had to be normal. If I slipped on a banana peel, I would have to be normal about it. If someone jumped out of the bushes and yelled, "Boo!" and I got scared, I would want to get scared in a normal manner. Crazy, stupid, and cool are just 3 different words for normal. The thugs showed up in a car. They wore strange outfits. In fact, one might say they dressed stupid and crazy. I got in the car and was struck by the music they were playing. There wasn't anything musical about it. It was all about being cool, crazy, and stupid. I already knew the logic. Music isn't about being musical. It's about fitting in and being normal. I think I enjoyed listening to it. I fit in with the thugs right away, but I reminded myself not to lose my cool, so to speak. We went to an apartment and got drunk and high and had a blast, as they say. Then one of them demonstrated some knowledge and intelligence. His friend tried to elbow him and whispered, "Cut it out. Take it easy. Be cool." But that made it worse. The smartass, as they called him, got laughed at, then threatened, then it got violent. I was shocked, and I think I started panicking. But I thought, relax. This is a perfectly normal situation. This is what happens to weird people. The more knowledge you have, the less normal you are. Serves him right, as they say, I said. They all turned to face me. The strangely normal guy stepped away from me. "What did you say?" one of the thugs said. "You heard me," I said, raising my voice. "Are you crazy?" said another. They all stared me down. "You want to get stupid and crazy?" one of them said. "Too late for that," I said. One of them pulled out a gun. "Let's play a game," and handed the gun to me. "Yeah, let's play a little game," I said. They explained to me that there was one bullet somewhere in the gun, and that they would bet on where it was. I had to put the gun to my head after every round of betting and pull the trigger. They had to believe I was crazy. I took the gun, pointed it at my head, and pulled the trigger. "Hey, easy man, we haven't bet yet." They placed their bets, and I put the gun to my head a second time and pulled the trigger. "Wow, I've never seen anyone do it that fast. It's like he wasn't even worried." "Yeah, what's wrong with you?" Now I got worried. They were all thinking that I was weird. I became tense, thinking that the jig was up, as they say, and that my weirdness was going to be exposed. I started sweating. "Now you look scared," one of them said. "Don't sweat it, just pull the trigger," the strangely normal guy said. I told myself not to think or talk or even try to fit in. I had to shut my mouth and pull the trigger. I pulled the trigger a 3rd time and a 4th time. "Okay, man, you're cool with us," another said. "Yeah, you can put the gun down now," the strangely normal guy said, with a strange look in his eye. "Bet again," I said. "You don't have to do it, man," said one of them. "Yeah, don't be stupid," said another. Then the rest of them finally agreed that I shouldn't do it. "I insist," I said, thinking that I would prove once and for all that I was crazy, stupid, and cool. They placed their bets, and they looked frightened and worried. I put the gun to my head and pulled the trigger again. "Oh man," one of them said, "now I have seen it all. This boy is crazy."
"You think you've seen crazy? Well, I'll show you crazy," I said. And I put the gun to my head a sixth time. There was dead silence. Some of them covered their eyes. One of them screamed, and I pulled the trigger the sixth and final time. But I only heard a click.
"Oh my God," said one of them.
Another started laughing. A third started yelling.
"I don't believe it," said one guy. "There were no bullets?" said another.
One of them looked guilty. He was taken care of. "I think I really proved my normality today," he said. "I mean, they say the weather is unpredictable, but give me a break, as they say, for crying out loud, so to speak." He laughed and nodded. As we made small talk, I realized that he might know about normal sins. "Come with me," I said, and led him into a dark alley. "I have a neighbor who wants to know about sins. Do you know anything about sins?"
"I know everything about sins."
"Maybe you could help me point him in the right direction."
"I know all the directions. Come with me,"
he said, and led me into an even darker alley. He took out some strange thing and lit it. "What's that?" I asked.
"What does it look like?"
"Oh, yeah, of course," I said, pretending I knew. It was some type of drug. We took a few hits, as drug users say. The high, as they call it, was weird, but that was probably normal.
"So, sins, huh?"
he said. "Yeah, not great sins or big sins or anything. I mean, let's not get carried away."
"Of course not. Well, crimes are the most normal types of sins," he said.
"Yeah," I said.
"Funny I should run into you, because I'm planning a crime, and I could use some accomplices."
"Really? When?"
"Later this week."
"Okay," I said. "I'll tell my neighbor, and if he can't make it, I'll take his place." Today I did another porn. While shooting, I noticed a couple of people staring at me. In between takes, they approached me.
"It must be amazing to be with gorgeous women all the time, and to be well endowed," one of them said.
"I'm not amazing," I said. "They're not gorgeous. It's not all the time. And I'm not well endowed."
"Can we have your autograph?" one of them said.
"Why would you want my autograph?" I said.
The director stormed up to them. "Get out of here. Can't you see we're in the middle of filming?"
"Why did they want my autograph?" I said.
"Oh, I don't know. It's ridiculous," he said. "They're weirdos. Don't let it worry you."
"Why would they want my autograph?" Today I met up with the strangely normal guy to commit a crime. He was drinking alcohol and doing drugs. I needed to know whether alcohol and drugs were weird. The other day one of my neighbors was telling me that alcohol and drugs were weird, I said.
"You've got a lot of strange neighbors,"
he said. "That's what I was about to say," I said. So anyway, I told them that alcohol and drugs were normal.
"Damn right," he said.
Today is a sad day. I went to the screening of my first porn movie. My name got top billing. What was the meaning of this? As I watched the movie, I noticed that my role wasn't small at all. In fact, I was in every scene. I think I felt anything but normal, having a room full of people watching me on screen for 2 hours. Even worse was the after party.
"You're bound to win awards and be a superstar,"
my co-star told me. I was never supposed to have a co-star.
"You're well on your way to becoming a legend," the director said. "I've seen talent, but my friend, you have big talent."
You knew I didn't want this. We agreed that I wasn't big and never would be, I said. One guy called me special, and one girl called me amazing. If my parents were here, oh, what they would say. Oh, I know exactly what they would say.
"This is just like the baseball game,"
my father would say.
"You couldn't just let the ball hit you, like any normal kid would. This is just like the spelling bee,"
my mother would say.
"You couldn't just have fun with it. You had to turn it into a big deal."
They would shake their heads at their son, the porn star. If the normal girl knew that I had starred in the porn, she would probably cry twice as hard as the last time. If the strangely normal guy found out, he wouldn't let me commit another crime with him.
Thank God I still have religion and crime, because I sure failed at porn. Today, the strangely normal guy, a couple of thugs, and I went to do another B&E, as they are called. We did a lot of drugs on the way there. You guys are cool with murder, right? One of the thugs said. Yeah, I've murdered a couple of people before, said the strangely normal guy. Me too, I said. One of the thugs gave me a gun. Are you sure it's normal to kill a man? I whispered to the strangely normal guy. Another one of my neighbors told me that it's not normal. Not normal, he said loud. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. The thugs listened. What are you talking about? Not me, I whispered. My neighbor. Oh, drop the act, he said. This has nothing to do with neighbors. What act? I said, and tried to prove it was about my neighbor. But he didn't believe me. I started to sweat, and I think my adrenaline shot up. I had to prove myself. I broke into the house, and this time there were people there. Not just any people. I think it was the normal guys from the car salesman job. Normal guys are by definition not easy to remember. They all looked at me like I wasn't normal. The strangely normal guy and the thugs were behind me, talking to each other about how weird I was. I had to prove I was normal. Say your prayers, as they say, I said, and I murdered one of the normal guys. I have been happy, I think, ever since the murder. I keep thinking how impressed everybody would be if they knew. My parents would be so proud. The normal girl would say, Wow, he's a normal sinner after all. My next-door neighbor from my youth would say, He's even more normal than me. The normal guys are probably saying, I can't believe I worked alongside of him and never suspected that he was that normal. The thugs and the strangely normal guy are probably saying, Boy, is he stupid, crazy, and cool. Today I went to church to confess the murder, but first I sat down to hear the sermon. It's nice to see young people here, said the priest, approaching me. Especially this one. This young man is the only one here who pays attention to my sermons, while the rest of you sleep and make small talk. I don't pay attention, I said. You are an amazing child of God, he said. Why are you doing this to me, I said. Why have I been singled out? And you should have heard his confession the other day, he said. I can't tell you what he said, but I can say it was very special. He said the one part I didn't want told. I left with everyone staring at me. I have ruined my shot at being a normal Christian. I can never go back. I am not one of the herd. I am a failed sheep. Thank God I still have crime. Today the strangely normal guy told me that the thugs are talking about me all the time, asking where I am and bragging about me to everyone they know. All because of the gun game and the murder. It turns out none of them has ever really killed anybody. They were pretending, and they're all in awe that I actually did it. The strangely normal guy gave me a weird look and called me amazing. I failed as a son. I failed as a teenager. I failed as a janitor. I failed as a waiter. I failed as a used car salesman. I failed as a boyfriend. I failed as a porn star. I failed as a Christian. I failed as a sinner. I failed as a criminal. I failed at normal. I phoned up the normal girl, but her answering machine went on. Hi there, I said. How's it going? Lovely day today. Not a chance of rain, or so the forecast says. But the forecast lately has been pretty off. Anyhow, just wanted to mention that I'll be in the area tomorrow to take care of some loose ends concerning a little murder I committed recently. Nothing special. Anyhow, give me a call if you want to do coffee. Chapter 11. I woke up today with a throbbing headache, thinking that normal headaches didn't throb this much. I looked around, thinking what a strange place to wake up in. I was in jail. Strange memories came in and out of my mind. I tried to piece it all together. How had I ended up here? I had a meeting with my court-appointed lawyer. He wore a tie and a dress suit, and had a briefcase. I liked him. This is a strange case, he said. I started not liking him. I decided to make small talk. How about that weather? Pretty chilly, isn't it? Yes, he said. These winters just keep getting colder and longer, don't they? Yes, he said. But I don't think you'll have to worry about the weather for a long time. I saw this movie the other day about a guy who falls in love with his boss's wife. Have you seen it? No, he said. It was a laugh a minute, as they say. He had no interest in small talk. He filled me in on how I got caught. You were on so many drugs that you should have died, yet you didn't even overdose. I sighed. I couldn't even overdose like a normal person. You were driving around like a maniac, he said. The cops circled you, and you tried to shoot them, but you didn't have a gun, and the cops pinned you, read you your rights, brought you here, and the rest is history. I wanted to know the rest. How much trouble was I in? How many crimes had I committed? How weird had I acted? How much proof was there? I couldn't flat out ask him for all the details. We're going to plead insanity, and you'll get off easy, he said. Anxious thoughts rushed through me. I decided to level with him, so to speak. I'm not going to plead insanity, I said. I want you to convince them I'm normal. That's what you're here for. This is a simple, open and shut, everyday case, as they say. First of all, there is absolutely nothing normal about these crimes, he said. And even if these were the most normal crimes imaginable, that wouldn't change my job. I'm not here to prove that you're normal. I'm here to prove that you're innocent, insane, or to get you as little time as possible. Today I finally went to court. I went in and took the stand. I had paced and practiced for this day for so long. I watched the prosecutor, my defense, the judge, the jury, the bailiff, and everyone. They were all normal, all performing their function in a perfectly coordinated fashion. They worked together like a well-oiled machine, as they say. I envied them. When questioned, I tried to give my best performance. I winked at the judge, I raised my eyebrows at one of the younger female jurors, I yawned, I twiddled my thumbs, and I whistled. In short, I emptied my whole bag of tricks, as they say, but the people only seemed to get more critical of me. They could see through it. My weirdness would be exposed, and I would hang for it, so to speak, or in this case, literally. I was asked, "How do you plead?" In a courtroom, guilty was just another word for weird, and innocent was another word for normal. I pled innocent. One of the lawyers questioned me. "What were your motives behind these crimes?" he asked. What he really meant was, "What were your motives for being weird?" I committed no crimes, I said. The trial went on. The jurors, the judge, the lawyers, and the audience in general stared at me the whole time. Did they know I was weird? Did they know my true motives? Would they use my weirdness as Exhibit A? My court-appointed lawyer said a bunch of legal stuff that I didn't understand, but he sure as hell didn't say anything about me being normal. My client's mental stability is in question. He cannot be held accountable for anything he says. So here I am in the madhouse. I don't know how I feel about it yet, because I don't know if it's a normal madhouse. The first thing they did was put me on all sorts of medication. It was annoying, since I had already been through my whole experimenting with drugs phase. Besides, how was I supposed to be a nut if I was all drugged up? I'm not sure what drugs they put me on, but I started seeing and hearing things. I saw my life in the future after finally becoming normal. I had money, women, and fame. I was on a talk show. "How did you become the most normal person in the world?" the host asked. "It was through much hard work," I said. Everyone in the audience applauded. Then my parents, and the normal girl, and my children all stood around me with tears of happiness, saying, "What a normal son. What a normal husband. What a normal father." Some time has passed. I spent a while analyzing all the nuts. The strange nuts, the normal nuts, all the nuts. There are lots of them, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Some are loud, some quiet, some violent, some try to hurt themselves, some try to hurt others, and some talk to themselves. I've been copying the nuts. First I copied the violent nuts and got all violent, and I ended up in restraints. Then I screamed, made threats, and tried to be claustrophobic.
Then for a while I started hurting myself, and again I was put in a straitjacket and tried to have a panic attack. I have been studying the nuts who talk to themselves. They have what are known as split personalities. This is a great idea, and quite possibly my ticket to being normal. I have spoken to the doctors and began reading about the condition. I have started to talk to myself and develop a split personality. Today I tried to befriend one of the nuts with split personalities. "Hey," I said, all calm and cool. "How's life?" No response. "What's new?" No response. For a guy with more than one personality, he didn't have a lot to say. "I hear you've got a split personality," I said. No response. "I have a split personality too. We're pleased to meet you guys," I said, and extended my hand. But he didn't respond. He, or they, looked at me and my other personality like we were weird. So I made a quick cover-up. "Sometimes we barely notice each other," I said, "because we're both so normal. In fact, we're so average and unnoticeable, the only way the doctors knew to diagnose us was when we got in an argument over who was more normal." Today something strange happened. "You're not a real nut. You're faking," one of the doctors said to me. "I haven't the foggiest idea, as they say, what you're talking about," I said. "Did you know it's normal to want to be special?" he said. "Of course, everyone knows that," I said. "You've got it all backward," he said. I shrugged and said, I don't know what you're talking about." "If you want to fit in, you have to want to be special." I think he was trying to trick me into admitting I was weird. A few months, or maybe even years, have passed. I hit rock bottom again, as they say. They told me I was the craziest patient in there. They arranged to have special doctors come to study me, and they were going to publish articles about me. They said I will be famous. All of the other patients have started giving me weird looks. What do I do now? I gave up on being crazy and started acting sane again. "I've never seen anyone regain their sanity so fast," said one doctor. "Just when you think he can't get any weirder," said another doctor. "He's amazing," they both said. The doctors decided I am, in fact, sane. Today they gave me a clean bill of health, as they say, and released me. Chapter 12. I have been living on the streets. I'm an outcast and an outsider, even among the homeless. I sleep in alleys and cardboard boxes, eating scraps here and there, and trying to avoid the other homeless people. I thought that if I could be mentally disabled, well, how could I be strange? I took a class called Learning Strategies for mentally disabled people. When I entered the classroom, who should I see but the two janitors from my first job? "Hey, it's the smart guy," one of them said. "He's a genius," the other one said. I left as quickly as I had entered. I thought maybe in order to be mentally disabled, rather than trying to act the part, I should find a way to kill most of my brain cells. I bought numerous household cleaners. No matter how many brain cells I killed, I didn't feel normal. I considered wearing a bag on my head so that nobody would have to look at my weird face. But of course, that would only draw attention to me. I traveled, hoping to be less weird in foreign places, but I was weird in every country. I found the strength to live each day by thinking, maybe next month it would get better, and maybe next year I would be more normal. The next month came, and the next year, but I became no more normal. I studied the idea of reincarnation, hoping I could make my next life normal. But to do that, one has to create normal energy, and that's not in my power. I turned out the lights and waited and listened for normal, and meditated about becoming normal. Time passed. Today, I came upon an epiphany that I should kill myself. No, not like last time. That was an attempted suicide. This would be the real thing. How could I be weird if I was dead? I decided to cash in my chips, as they say, to kick the bucket, so to speak. I went to the roof of a building and jumped. As I fell, I smiled, thinking I finally did something normal. Then I regained consciousness to see a nurse giving me a weird look. "What am I doing here?" I asked. "You tried to kill yourself," the nurse said. I was supposed to be pushing up daisies, as they say. Why didn't I die? I asked. You certainly should have died. I've never heard of someone falling from such a height without dying, let alone not breaking any bones, she said. It turns out that I fell into a big pile of mud. Once again, my plan had backfired, as they say. You've broken records, she said. She praised my miraculous survival for the rest of my stay. Chapter 13. I thought escaping my weirdness was possible. I thought normality was attainable, but it turned out to be a Rubik's Cube the size of the universe, with 1,000,000 sides and 1,000,000,000 bricks. I've come full circle, as they say, right back to the hopelessness and grief of my youth. Well, that was my life. The worst part, what hurts the most, and as they say, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is that I sincerely tried. I put 100% into fitting in. I perspired and bled and exhausted myself and constricted and strained and focused everything I had into being normal, just being normal, and I failed more than anyone has ever failed before. So what am I to do now? I am to be a zombie now. I am to be a mindless entity and just float around and slip through the cracks, so to speak, of normal society, and hope not to be too visible, and hope not to cause too much commotion. Woe is me, as they say in old English plays. Alas. Today I decided to go back to my parents' house. The weird thing is, I didn't really decide on it. I couldn't even think anymore. Maybe it was what they call a gut feeling. It was like something was pulling or pushing me there. I got on a bus bound for my old hometown. As I drew near, it seemed like I was going back in time. I expected to arrive at not only my old house, but my old life, with my parents and neighbors and everything. I looked at the other passengers and thought how some of them were also returning home, but they were returning home for normal reasons, to visit or for some special occasion like a birthday or a funeral. I finally arrived in my hometown. As I walked down familiar streets, I knew I was increasingly familiar to the pedestrians. I knew what they were saying. Oh my God, it's him, that weirdo from way back when. I thought he was weird before, but that was nothing compared to how weird he is now. Why is he back? We should wash the street he walked on to get his weirdness off. We should call pest control. No, even pest control couldn't handle this. We should call the police. They shouldn't let weirdos walk the streets. We pay taxes for normal people, not weirdos. I passed buildings and places from my youth, the library, the movie theater, the grocery store. These places all had painful memories of my weirdness. I cringed. What was I going to do when I got there? The house probably wouldn't even be there. Why was I going back? I got to my street. I remembered that last night when I had gone for a walk in the park, with the grass, the crickets, and the trees. I thought how green was probably a normal color. I remembered the sirens, the fire trucks, and the fire. I thought how red was probably a weird color. I got to my house. It looked rotted and abandoned and weird, but it was still there, kinda like me. I stepped onto the driveway and remembered growing up without being normal. I went from room to room and remembered my weird youth. I imagined that my parents' spirits were still there and that I was disturbing them beyond the grave with my weirdness. I became dizzy. It was like my brain overloaded with weirdness, and I couldn't even think anymore. I imagined what my father would say. You failed, and now you come running home, with your tail between your legs, as they say, like a weird dog. Well, you can't come home. I imagined my mother say, Why couldn't you be normal? Look how you have weirded out your mother, my father would have said. You were a weird son, my mother said, and a weird baseball player, and a weird spelling bee participant, and a weird teenager. And then you became a weird janitor, I pretended to hear the normal girl say, and a weird waiter, and a weird salesman.
Not just weird, the weirdest, the strangely normal guy said. And then you became the weirdest boyfriend to that normal girl, the normal guy said. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. And then you became a weird porn star, and a weird Christian, and a weird criminal, said the model. And then you became a weird defendant in court, and a weird nut in the nut house, and a weird bum on the street, said the normal girl. And now you come back here for a weird coup de grace, as they say in France, said the thugs. We didn't want a weird son. We didn't want a special son. We didn't want a strange or amazing son. All we ever wanted was for you to be normal, said my parents. Why can't he be normal? Said some weird voice. And why did you come back here anyway? Said a normal voice. What should I do? I said. There's nothing you can do, said a bunch of normal voices. You can't fix weird. Well, maybe he could at least admit he's weird. Yeah, that's true. Confess this most horrible sin. Regret your weirdness. Admit to this terrible crime and announce your perversion to the world. Admit that you lied and pretended to be normal. Swear that you will never again hide your weirdness. Go to everyone you have ever lied to and tell them the truth about you. Put up posters and send out flyers revealing your strangeness to the world. Call a press conference. Admit your weirdness to the whole world, in confession, to the church, to the police, to the restaurant and the car dealership and the janitors, to the normal guys and the strangely normal guy and the normal girl. Go to schools and talk to kids about your weirdness and warn them to stay away from weirdness. Donate your body to science so they can study your DNA to help find a cure for weirdness. Pain and terror went through my mind. Somehow I made my way outside and sat on the porch. I stared out at the world. Pedestrians noticed me and pointed. Neighbors looked at me and shook their heads. Crickets stopped chirping. Trees stopped rustling. The grass stopped growing. All of my weirdness culminated right there and then. I was the focal point of all the weirdness in the universe. My old next-door neighbor approached me. I wasn't sure at first if he was real, or if I was imagining him, or pretending him, or thinking about him. Are you the kid who used to live here? He said. Yeah, I said. Are you all right? He asked. You mean, am I normal? I said. Oh, I know that you're normal, he said. What? I always wondered how you could be so normal. I was normal? I always wanted to be like you, he said. I always tried to do everything you did, like baseball and spelling bees, but I always failed. Year after year, I admired you because you were so normal. I have devoted my life to trying to be normal. Every day I ask myself, why can't I be normal? You were famous for being normal, my neighbor said. In fact, if you remember the day our houses caught fire, I burned my house down on purpose. I did it to be more like you. My mind went into overdrive, as they say. I didn't even know what to think. He said, I am the weirdest man who ever lived. I am the strangest thing in existence. I have spent my whole life ashamed of it, coping with it, and suffering from it. I have weirdo written all over me. It's as plain as the nose on my face, as they say. When I exercise, weirdness comes out of my pores. When I talk to people, they cringe and say, what weird breath. Weirdness is the fabric of what I am. If scientists were to run a test on my DNA, they would find it to be weird. I'm so weird, even I can't relate to myself. I always wished I had a friend, or higher power, or instruction manual to tell me how to be normal, but I have always had to wing it, so to speak. Dogs bark at me because they can smell the weirdness on me. Babies cry when they see me because they instinctually sense my weirdness. I'm so weird, blind people cover their eyes when I'm around. Deaf people cover their ears. Animals are endangered because of my weirdness. Nuclear bombs are dropped because of my weirdness. Evil exists in the world because of my weirdness. Strangeness is in my heart, my soul, and my brain, and there is nothing I can ever do to change it. I walk the streets, far beyond an object of ridicule, more alien than any alien, more monstrous than any monster, odder than any oddity. Epilogue. Now that I'm normal, I can say it's everything I ever hoped it would be. Whenever something weird happens, I'm too normal to care. I eat, sleep, and breathe normality. Now that I'm normal, everything is special. But normal is not just about having a 2-car garage, or a house with a 2nd floor and a basement, or a wife and a son and a daughter. Normal is not something that you can find through jobs, sex, religion, crime, friends, girlfriends, family, or insanity. Normal is something within. My father was wrong when he said that the outfield is for normal people. He had it completely backwards. The outfield is for weirdos, because nobody wants to be around them, or look at them. If only he knew the truth. It's normal to be weird, and weird to be normal. Since the day of my big epiphany, I have bumped into many of the people from my past. I ran into the model, and she didn't think I was a big deal at all. I ran into a couple guys from the waitering job, and they didn't even remember me. Same with one of the normal guys from the car salesman job. And not only were all of these people worried about themselves being weird, they were weird. And though I haven't yet crossed paths with the normal girl, or the strangely normal guy, I'm sure they're flipping out about being weird as we speak, just as I used to do. And then there's my poor neighbor, who is truly lost in his delusion of being weird. It's sad. I wish I could tell them all to get over it and share with them my knowledge, but they wouldn't understand. They are not ready. Now that I'm finally normal, the world is my oyster. I don't have to be an average porn star, or an everyday criminal, or one of the herd of Christians, or have a job, or set fire to family heirlooms. I can be a big league baseball pitcher, or even an all-star batter, and hit grand slams. I can be a spelling bee champion. I can be an arsonist, a porn superstar, an arch criminal, and an archbishop. I can be all of these things at the same time, and much more. Now that I know what normal is, I'm going to do what normal people do. I'm going to be weird.